Did you watch the revenge game last night? Luka Doncic getting his revenge in LA as the LA Lakers get a win, a 107-99 win over the Dallas Mavericks. LA now 36-21 on the season, 20-7 at home. That's where we're starting the show today. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate.
Yeah, apologies for being about 15 seconds late, but Roy, our promotions manager, was showing us our awesome new space downstairs, and I got a little carried away.
It's okay. Hey, you get carried away. I carry the show. It's okay. I mean, we're making sure we're on air. I mean, goodness gracious. Hey.
Tired now, breathing heavy.
I was going to say, you're out of breath. Yeah. You're out of breath, but it's okay. All eyes on L.A. last night, 107-99. And Diesel, I know that's where we're starting the show today. I want to remind Tolos that you can get in on the stream, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the text line, 844-326-3663.
Yeah, Cole, what a great night for Luka. Became just the third player in NBA history to score a triple-double on every single franchise in the game, which was absolutely fantastic. Now, Luka himself actually lost me some money in my underdog pick last night. Thanks a lot, Luka. I had him scoring like 30 points. I think he wound up something around 19 points. But, hey, what a phenomenal performance by him. The game, Cole, actually ended up, in my mind, pretty dull. It really wasn't as an exciting game as I think it could have been. And, I intend to talk about that here in the very first segment of the show. You watched, I'm sure, the entire game. I fell asleep at halftime because who the heck decided to start this game at 10 p.m., a nationally televised game for the NBA that is one of the biggest matchups of the season. And they said, let's stick it so late at night that the East Coast audience is not going to stay awake for this.
Every
not
West
a
Coast
smart
game,
decision.
Every Lakers game. If you want to watch Luka, LeBron, every time I have to stay up late. It's unfortunate, but it's 7 o'clock there, right? It's prime time in LA.
I started at 6.
I know it'd be
started
a little bit
at
better.
6. It's fine.
It was late. It was a struggle getting up this morning when the alarm clock went off. Now I didn't think it was dull. I loved it. I thought it was one of the best games of the year. I thought LeBron took over in the fourth quarter, and I tell you this. I know we're going to get into it pretty deep. I thought Jason Kidd last night for Dallas had a masterful plan on how to guard Luka. And, he had a really good game. He had a really good game. But he had 19. He didn't go – but I think his point total was set at 32, 33 and a half, Diesel, somewhere in there. So he was well shy of that. I had the feeling that maybe he goes for 35. Maybe he goes for 40. But
that's what I was hoping.
Yeah, Jason Kidd, man, you watched last night. It was – double team, triple team Luka at the point of attack, box and one. Jason Kidd had a masterful plan last night. However, without AD, they just didn't have enough firepower.
Well, somebody in the strength and conditioning department over for the Lakers organization has their work cut out for him because, Cole, you know as well as I do, Luka does not look like an explosive basketball player. You watch him play, and it kind of gives hope to the doughy guys out there, the kind of chunky dudes. You feel like, oh, I could do that. I can move like Luka because Luka moves kind of like a weeble wobble. There's no sharp cuts. There's no explosiveness in what he does, but yet he still puts up tremendous numbers when it comes to points and assists and rebounds. There was a couple of times, Cole, last night where I was just in awe because I'm going to be real with you. Not that this is anything you don't know. I don't watch a lot of NBA until we get into the playoffs, especially deep into the playoffs. Like quarterfinals, that's when I start paying attention to the NBA. There was, I think it was the second quarter behind the deck, no-look kick out to Austin Reeves who hit the three-pointer, and it was a thing of beauty. It was absolutely fantastic. I mean, how he has the awareness and the skill to put the ball right on the money. Now, it certainly helps that Austin Reeves hit the shot, because if he doesn't hit the shot, we're not talking about it today.
Look, that play in itself might have been the prettiest play I've ever seen. I mean, Luka was trapped. Like, Luka was under the goal. And all of a sudden, it's like a ball just comes out of a chute, and Austin Reeves is like, oh, okay. Austin Reeves, I loved it last night. I loved it. I stayed up till the very end. It was late, to your point, but I just thought, man, like the Lakers are they're a really good team now. And they missed AD last night, Diesel. They're going to miss AD in the future because Jackson Hayes isn't Anthony Davis. We all know that. However, when you look at this team, LeBron has like firepower around them. And
he does.
With Luka and the way that he plays, very similar to LeBron. Austin Reeves goes for 20. LeBron had 27. Rui, you get 15 out of him. And then off the bench, you have guys like Jared Vanderbilt and Dalton Connect, who didn't get a ton of playing time last night, but
Dalton looked good in his playing time that he had. Yeah,
I'm telling you, this team's. I said last night on Twitter, this team's a contender. They're a legitimate contender now because of Luka, even without a rim protector. I loved it, man. I was eating it up. Kyrie Irving was phenomenal last night. I mean, he just went off. He was the one. Even though it wasn't revenge for him, he was the one that went off. 35 points.
Kyrie was incredible in the first half.
Yeah.
He was absolutely incredible, running all over the place, picking balls off, playing incredible defense. JB on the stream, who, by the way, has the winning icon of the day. It's Steve Spurrier rocking the Joe Dirt mullet. He says, I got to thinking, the last time a team I know of traded a player because he drank beer and ate hot dogs and was out of shape was the great Bambino, George Herman Ruth. How did that trade turn out? The Red Sox had the curse of the great Bambino for 86 years before winning a title. How many years will the Luka curse be on the Mavs?
It's tough, man. And Ricky is a Mavs fan. He says, I was a longtime Mavs fan, but now I could care less about them. I'm not a Lakers fan by no means, but I'll follow Luka. And that's the thing, Ricky. Like, I get it. I pulled for the Mavs too. And now you just, like, what do you have to pull for? Did you see Nico Harrison last night pregame sitting there at the scores table, leaned up watching Luka? Luka never acknowledged him. And I have some audio from that last night after the game, Diesel, but Luka never acknowledged him. He said after the game that he didn't even see Nico Harrison, which he probably saw him. He was wearing a blue blazer.
Wasn't he doing push-ups in front of the Mavs bench?
Yeah, he was.
He was flexing.
He saw him, but
he was flexing.
Luka's the best. Like, we can have the discussion that Luka's the best player on planet Earth. I mean, he is so good. You talked about how he plays, his style. He's not Kyrie explosive Diesel. He's not Austin Reeves explosive. He's slow. And the best way that I can describe it is he's methodical.
Well, my conspiracy theory is that somebody somewhere has paid off the entire league to get out of Luka's way, because there's no reason why the best on-ball defenders in the world can't slow down that dough ball Luka Doncic. I can't fathom how this guy keeps doing what he does.
So good. It's almost like a quarterback. Like, it's just so methodical in the way that he plays the point guard position. And again, people try. I remember one play last night. He was double teamed under the basket. Under the basket, double teamed, still found a way to get the basket to count, and he drew a foul. Another time he was going down the floor, double covered again, Diesel, and stopped on a dime. He may not be the fastest, but his skills, man, they're a different. It's a different skill set. And I know he's from a different country, and we watch, a lot of guys from different countries come in and dominate the game, but he has a skill set that I don't know if anybody else in the NBA has. I just think he's that good. Here was Luka on his emotions last night, Diesel, after facing the Mavs.
You just handle the emotions of the day and playing against your former team.
I don't know, honestly. I don't know. It's just so weird, the moments. Felt like I don't know what I was doing. And I'm glad we got the win.
Glad he got the win. Not the biggest talker, right? He doesn't always have the most words to say.
He was talking in that last drive of the game. I forget who it was on the Mavs who scored. Layup. Luka was called for the foul. He looks right at the referee and says, "Are you bleeping kidding me?" So a guy that struggles through the English language in press conferences speaks it perfectly well on court.
To say, right? At the right time. And then the very first 2 minutes of the game, he goes down and they get called on a bogus. He gets called on it's a no call. He goes up and the defender's elbow comes down on him. He gets attacked, Diesel, within the first 2 minutes of the game. Scott Foster, who's one of the longest tenured, NBA officials didn't call that one, and Luka got mad and Luka got teed up. But overall, I think that you talk about Dallas and this trade and what happened. last night was indicative that Dallas needs Anthony Davis healthy badly because they have holes, man.
They need somebody who can certainly work the inside presence. Look, Kyrie is fantastic on the outside. Klay Thompson, even though he's losing a step, can still shoot the lights out. He shot 5 for 10 from 3. In the second half, he couldn't miss. But with the ball in his hand, he is not Klay Thompson of 10 years ago. It is what it is. Father Time catches up to all of us. Again, maybe not Kyrie, because even at 32, Kyrie is still out there running circles around guys, Cole. But the thing that really kind of got me throughout that game, the on-the-court product was fine. It was fascinating. It was interesting. You saw high-level play all over the place, Cole. But the broadcast was terrible. Can we be real about that? The broadcast was terrible.
What about it?
The play-by-play?
Really?
These guys are just meandering through a conversation that doesn't have anything to do with the game for the first 20 minutes. Just BSing about this, BSing. Oh, look at Klay Thompson's dad over there. Yeah, calling games for the Lakers. Isn't it great? I bet he really hopes that his son does well throughout the game. I mean, there's no play-by-play. There's no calling the game. I know that we're all watching, and I get that maybe they feel like in this modern age when everybody's watching and there's replay and there's 5 cameras on the court at any given time, that they don't really need to describe the action, Cole. But it slows down the conversation to where, just imagine if there's a basketball game going on right in front of us, a high-level basketball game going on right in front of us, and you and I are just shooting the you-know-what, shooting the breeze, having a conversation about nothing, and that took me out of it. Am I wrong for feeling that way? Because I didn't feel invested in the game at all. I watched because I had some money on this, but I didn't feel engaged in the game. Like, for me, it's a multi-sensory experience. It's sight and it's sound. I got the sight. The game looked good. It was compelling, but just hearing these guys talk, they were awful.
3 more pieces of audio. Luka commented on LeBron's 16-point fourth quarter. LeBron kind of took over there at the very end.
A lot of weapons, so that was really big, and he's doing that at 40 years old, which is insane. The takeover in fourth quarter. Was unbelievable to watch.
And I think they had a game plan. Like, I think the Mavs had a game plan of, hey, we don't want Luka to beat us tonight. However, LeBron and the Lakers, they said, hey, we want Luka to get this win tonight because we know how much it means. Here's LeBron talking about that.
We understood as his teammates that we wanted to try to get this win for him. Obviously, we know what transpired not too long ago. So, as his teammates, we wanted just to try to back him no matter how, in any way, shape, or form, on the court, off the court, whatever, and I'm happy that I was, along with my teammates, able to make a couple plays down the stretch to get him this win. I know it's probably won't say it, but I think it means something to him for sure. Anytime you face your former team, you spent 7 years with them, I believe. So it's tough.
That was LeBron, and then one more piece. This is him talking about the tribute the Lakers did to AD Diesel before the game started.
I definitely saw it. I watched it from start to finish. We know what AD was to this franchise and what he did for this franchise from the moment we got him. Obviously, our friendship goes without saying. He was one of my best friends, and it was great to see him get that recognition and him get that moment.
And I will say that the we talked about it yesterday. Anthony Davis being there was cool because they did. I think you asked the question. I wonder if he'll travel. I said I think he will. I didn't know if he would. Him being there, they did that tribute, probably planned, right? Like, hey, make sure AD's there because we're going to have this tribute for him. But JB on the YouTube stream says the Lakers are a really fun team to watch with Luka running the show, with LeBron still playing at a high level at 40. This team is going to surprise people when the playoffs come around. JB also says, I feel like Ricky, the Mavs pissed me off. I'm following the Lakers now because of Luka. And I'm in the same boat. Like, it's funny how many people are now. Like I said when the trade happened, I think the trade was the best thing that could have happened, to the NBA. And that's the reality of where we were. It was a slow season, a boring season. We talked about it. The ratings were horrible. And Luka getting traded to the Lakers might have saved the season.
I mean, if you say so. If you say the NBA I guess just isn't for me. It is what it is. No, I've known that, and I gave it a shot. I gave it a real shot. I watched the biggest game they could present. It felt robotic. It felt like there wasn't any heat. There was no fire. Everybody's smiling at each other. Oh, isn't it great to see my best friends? You guys want to hug? You want to trade friendship bracelets after the game? Come on. Where's the fire? Where's the energy? Where's the heat? Where's the passion? How come nobody's slamming into each other? I tweeted out, Cole, during the first half, that if this game was being played in the 1980s, blood would have been drawn before the halftime. Like,
You need to watch boxing.
why?
I think you like boxing. If you like guys slamming into each other and hitting each other, I mean,
That's
hockey,
what I got football.
right?
That's what I got football and hockey for. I just, I don't know.
Just doesn't do it for you.
They're never going to get me with the NBA.
Dewey says Luka is on steroids and should be investigated. Texter says, yeah, that play and pass was sick for sure, guys. Texter from the 345 says, great game last night. Texter from the 344 says, Braun took over in the fourth until he left with time left on the clock again. Okay, that was, exclamation point. I think that came from JD. Tolo, sign your text. Put your name on the text. Dewey did. They was the only text in the first segment that actually put his name on there. But you know what? It's very interesting when you watch last night. I thought that Luka Diesel, he wanted that one. You could tell that when you look at what transpired, how many people did we have tell us that Luka wasn't in a good spot after the trade, and he gets traded to LA, and next thing you know, it's the first couple of games didn't go the greatest. Now they beat Denver the other night. They look good. I think they have a lot of potential. To JB's point on the YouTube stream, I think when it comes to the Western Conference Finals, I think they're a sneaky team. I think they can get there. Should be a lot of fun.
This is a loaded text that just came in from a Tolo who, again, did not put their name on their text. Help us out, Tolos. Put your name on your messages so that we can shout you out. It's also a way for us to get to know your personalities. Texter says, LeBron is clean from blood doping and HGH, just like Ohtani isn't a gambler. The longer he plays, the more obvious it is.
That comes from a Michael Jordan enthusiast is the name on that text. There's no name, but I can tell you whoever texted that in is the biggest Michael Jordan fan trying to come up with an excuse to spoil LeBron's legacy. It happens.
Spoil LeBron's
Speaking
legacy.
of legacy, Hubert Davis Diesel, his legacy continues in Chapel Hill. Yesterday, news broke that Hubert Davis got an extension. So I ask the question to you, Diesel and the Tolos out there, which coach and player do you think got way too long of a leash in his career? Also, thoughts on Hubert Davis. Text the show, call the show. The phone lines are wide open. 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. That is next. Well, Diesel, Hubert Davis has shown everyone in America and in the world that you don't have to be really good at your job to keep your job, right? I mean, North Carolina, they are not the blue blood that they used to be. They're not the same program that they used to be. And, we were having conversations a couple of weeks ago about where does North Carolina go? Like, what do they do? And then all of a sudden, February 25th rolls around and the news breaks that North Carolina has extended Hubert Davis. I think the conversation that happened, Diesel, when Hubert Davis walked into his AD's office, could I have been a fly on the wall? I mean, imagine you walking in and saying, hey, Mr. AD, look, I know we got to get a lot better. We have got to get better, man. I'm going to fix this.
Bubba Cunningham, right?
Is that who it is? Bubba Cunningham? So. We're going to make this right. I know Bill Belichick just got hired for football. We're going to make this right. The AD looks and says, we're going to extend you.
Is that what? What? I thought I was getting called in here to get fired.
Huh? What?
Yeah.
Wait, extension.
Hubert's kind of pulling a Peter Gibbons from Office Space. He's winning just enough not to get fired.
But North Carolina's not. I mean, they're not even a lock for the tournament. No. And a 2-year extension through 2030.
I guess they're a football school now because basketball doesn't matter.
That is unbelievable. So let us know, Tolos, what your thoughts are on Hubert Davis. Also, the question, if Hubert Davis becomes the guy who just gets way too long of a leash, Diesel, which other players and coaches can we think of in sports history that were in that same boat, Tolos, that got way too long of a leash? Let us know at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. Let's see, Brian Pettit on the YouTube stream. Cole, did you see the grades for the NFL team? What grades are you talking about, Brian? Let us know.
You mean the ones they just talked about on the Rich Eisen show without Rich Eisen 10, 15 minutes ago?
The Rich Eisen list show?
Actually, more like 35 minutes ago.
JD asked Cole and Diesel, did you see my question about if we're going to talk about the biggest SEC? No, I didn't see that.
I assume you're talking about the Georgia upset of Florida?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
What are we talking about? Let us know. You got to be specific, Tolos. Whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about. But let us know what you want to talk about. Obviously, that was a big upset last night. But Georgia played really well on Saturday too. So they've been playing better. And then you even asked we asked Brendan Leak about Georgia, right? What was that on Monday? But Hubert Davis, North Carolina Diesel, in a very interesting situation. His original contract took him through 2028. Now it's through 2030. And a texter brings up a really good point. He says, or a texter, I don't know if it's a he or a she from the 345, says UNC can't compete now that NIL is here. ACC is in the same spot the SEC is in for football. And you know what? I think this texter, Diesel, this Tolo, might have a little validity with that text. Is the ACC in basketball experiencing the same thing the SEC in football is experiencing in the sense of it's more of a level playing field than it's ever been? Yeah. Everybody's got money, right?
So you got to be careful to separate the pots of money, okay? If you're talking about money that's coming in from television revenue, that's a completely different pot of money. NIL is money that fans and other big-time donors put into their collectives that those collectives then use to induce, entice, poach, whatever word you want to say, or get guys to come and play on their roster. Believe it or not, Texter, University of North Carolina alums are not short on money. So maybe they're a little bit behind, and they thought, our reputation will carry us. It's the reputation is the ship, and it's floating just fine. And we're North Carolina. We're the Tar Heels. Kids will be falling all over themselves to come play for us, and maybe they just didn't modernize or ramp up their NIL collection apparatus quick enough, which is something Bill Belichick basically was brought in to do, right? Was to revolutionize how they handle things. So look, if the collectives, there's not a separate collective for football and a separate one for basketball and for baseball. It's all, they're all working together. So
I was surprised, though, to your point about North Carolina. We're having the conversation right now about North Carolina, the wine and cheese crowd, not having the NIL, to back the program. They have good players. Not to say they haven't used NIL, but like you said, they might be behind the 8 ball a little bit. So I don't know. I think that the equal playing field's definitely a part of it, to the texter's point. And yeah, you're right. It's different pot of monies you're looking at, but ultimately, if the football program at North Carolina starts having more success, Diesel, than the basketball program, boy, what a time we're living in. That can't happen. I don't care if Bill Belichick or the other great Nick Saban's the coach. North Carolina's a basketball school.
It takes, consider this, Cole, it takes a generation to change people's mindsets as far as what type of school you are. If you fancy yourselves a basketball school, as North Carolina does, the basketball program could be awful for like 15 years, 20 years, and there's still the OG fans that remember when the basketball program was great, and they will always consider themselves to be a basketball school. Now, the young incoming alums, if Bill Belichick turns out to be successful, will think of themselves as a football school, and that's where you get into kind of a tricky place, Cole. You kind of want to be both, like NC State has tried to be for the past 25 years, and they can't quite figure it out. Do they want to be a basketball school? Do they want to be a football school? You poll, 100 alums, you'll probably get a 50-50 split between the two, and that tells me right there you've got a divided fan base that doesn't really know what they want.
What a wild time to be alive. Kane on the YouTube stream says they may be focusing more on rebuilding the football program and think it may hurt basketball to bring new basketball staff at the same time. I mean, look, anytime you bring in new staff, Kane, to your point, it's a little bit of a rebuilding, right? Thomas at 423 on the text line says, Hubert Davis, all caps, by the way, should have been fired when Clemson gave them that beatdown. He's sorry. That comes from Thomas at the 423. Texter says, I thought I saw Hubert was extended prior to the season because there's no way that after that performance he got extended. Well, Texter, it came in on like every news outlet yesterday, so I'm pretty sure it did. He did get extended yesterday. Dewey wants to chime in, which you can do, Tolos, if you want to weigh in. You can do that right now on the phone lines, 844-326-3663. Call the show, and we have several lines open daily. Dewey, I guess, to start our Wednesday, our hump day. What's up, Dewey?
Yes, I'll take it a step further. That AD should be fired because what happened in North Carolina? They used to be a powerhouse. And play like Kentucky, they were ready to fire their Kentucky coach last year because they lost in the tournament. And this guy here getting an extension, and they're not going to no tournament. Clemson beat the crap out of them. Everyone's beating the crap out of them. It is ridiculous. Bill Belichick's really going to upstage the basketball program. And they ought to be fired.
Where's the at? Thank you. There it is. Thank you. Go ahead.
So here's what's going on is yes, he did agree to the contract extension last summer, but some media outlets started reporting on his salary information. It turns out that they never actually disclosed the information and the amount of money that he was going to be getting paid. So all this stuff finally got refreshed in the media's minds, and the contract terms are what's starting to come out.
And they've hired a GM for the basketball program, which is fascinating, right? Because we've seen football programs, Diesel, in the SEC doing the same thing. Alabama did it last year, right? I think that was last spring they hired a GM. And now basketball programs doing it. North Carolina basketball appointing veteran NBA agent Jim Tanner as its new general manager, aimed at navigating the complexities of the evolving college basketball landscape, BMV Sports reports. But now, didn't we just saw a couple of months ago, Bill Belichick has a GM at North Carolina, right? Mm-hmm. And now North Carolina's Hubert Davis has his own GM. We're now to the point of contract extensions in the middle of the season for coaches who aren't the best coach. Look, I actually like Hubert Davis. I think he's a good coach. For whatever reason, though, he has missed. And maybe Diesel, maybe the GM's what he needs. Maybe it's like an NFL. You know how NFL's organizations are kind of,
everything's very insulated, compartmentalized.
Compartmentalized. You have the GM who makes the player personnel decisions. You have the coach who, coaches. The coach probably has an input on player personnel decisions, right? But now you're seeing these colleges, even basketball programs, take more of an NFL type approach, which is fascinating.
Well, considering how much money is involved and how complex the game has become, not only are you trying to go recruit high school players, you're also trying to re-recruit guys that are already on your roster. You're trying to keep the ones who you think might leave happy by throwing them more money. You're trying to entice guys off of other rosters or guys in the portal. You're trying to get them to come to you. And so it's all very, very complex to deal with the money situation. Every school would love to be able to go out and essentially, for lack of a better term, pay the max contract or max value of every great player that's in the portal. But it's just a fact. They don't have unlimited funds. They can't go out there and do that. So they have to start saying, okay, well, we got guy A over here, and we think we can get him for $50,000 or $100,000. But we really want guy B over here too. He also wants $100,000, but we don't have $200,000 to spend. So let's see if we can shave a little bit off of guy A's value to go get guy B, but then guy A says, screw you, I'm going to go play over there instead. It's an incredibly complex system, Cole, and we can't put any of these guys on contract. And I genuinely hope for coaches, for GMs in college athletics in the years to come, that we do find a way to make these guys employees, to put them on contract, whether it be a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year term, whatever it is, what you're going to get.
Yeah.
That this is what I'm going to pay you. That I'm going to keep you for 2 seasons at minimum. So it takes a little bit of that pressure off the plate.
So now that we've recently, Diesel, gotten general managers in football and basketball, I'll tell you where my mind goes fast forward 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years from now. In the near to immediate future, right? When these programs like Alabama that JB just mentioned for football, North Carolina's of basketball, when these programs start to fail or they don't show improvement, who's the scapegoat? Who's the one with their job on the line now? Because we've seen NFL GMs get fired. We've seen NFL owners, make really big decisions and fire GMs. I think it's really interesting now at the college level. Are coaches now safer?
Think about how complex this is. You've got a university president who is always involved in big-time personnel decisions. You've got boards of trustees for every single school. You've got multiple GMs, usually one for football, one for basketball. Maybe you got one for other sports. I doubt it, but I'm sure baseball is probably fending for itself at a lot of schools.
Sure.
Then you've got coaches, then you've got staffs, then you've got players. I mean, think about the organizational chart for what they have to deal with and who ultimately catches the blame when something goes wrong. How do you exactly place who is most at fault? Is it the GM for not getting the coach the right players? Is it the coach for not coaching up the players that the GM got him? Is it the strength and conditioning crew? Is it position coaches? Or can we finally blame these semi-professional athletes for not delivering on what they were paid to do?
And, Diesel, think about this. The evolution of the sport is such a year-to-year evolution that you almost have to have it. Like, I love the GM. I love having, teams, programs, having a GM because what did we talk about last year for Clemson in South Carolina? Shane Beamer and Dabo Swinney's job is to do what? It's to coach. It's not to worry about NIL money. It's not to worry about how much this guy's getting paid. And then on top of that, who's running the program?
Well, I think that's why we have so many head coaches across college football hiring former head coaches because they can now hand off to somebody who knows what they're doing, hand off the offense, hand off the defense, the position group, this, that, whatever it may be. Now they can delegate to somebody that they trust because they hired them, someone that they trust to do the job correctly. They may need to be there and sort of guide them like a CEO role, but they get to hand that off, and coaches now get to devote a majority of their time to what it is they are paid to do, which is to coach rather than handling rosters, handling staffs. It's incredible what coaches are being asked to do.
It's a lot
now.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, Cole. It's like a lot of high school coaches. I'm sure some of them still do. I don't know how many do it, like your Dormans and your Burnses of the world. How many of them used to have to coach? Used to have to teach classes all day, every day.
Still do.
And they got to go
Paint
run a
the
football
field,
program.
paint the fields
Yeah, they got
on
a million
Fridays,
jobs to do.
cut the grass.
In college football, you got a lot bigger budget, so you can handle bigger staffs.
Yeah.
But imagine telling Dabo Sweeney, hey, guess what? Dabo, on top of all that, you need to go teach a class, and not just a class. You need to teach like 7 hours of class every single day.
Yeah.
You need to put together lesson plans. You need to grade papers. You need to talk to parents. You need to discipline kids.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
JB on the YouTube stream says, heck, Auburn and Bama are football schools, but I'm willing to say both schools b-ball teams are better than their football team. It's true. It's true. Well, Alabama's basketball is really good.
If the ACC were smart, Cole, they would rip off the entire SEC playbook on how they grew their football programs first. Number one, they grew their TV revenue first.
Yeah.
And then they were able to use that money to hire the best quality coaches that they could possibly get. And then they started using that extra money to grow their basketball programs too. Grow football first. That's your cash cow. Use the profits from football to grow your basketball. Turn that into a cash cow as well. The ACC has kind of piecemeal and done it their own way throughout, and a lot of schools have just fallen flat across the board.
And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it is interesting to watch like the small declines that these conferences take. What if the ACC in basketball 5 years from now isn't relevant? What if the SEC in football 5 years from now isn't the same? I mean, you remember a couple of years ago, Diesel, before we run, the joke ongoing was, hey, you guys up north, yeah, y'all talk a lot of smack, a lot of junk, but if you want to see how real football is played, go look at the national championships and look who wins the national championships. It's the West. It's the teams in the South. However, a shift lately. Guess who won it last year? Ohio State, up north. Guess who won it the year before that? Michigan, up north. So the shift is happening. Whether it's going to be a consistent shift or maybe just a one-off every few years, it's going to be fun. I like the change, though. It's fun.
To be fair, the ACC tried. They for a couple of years, Cole, it's like the late 2010s, they thought they were hiring some really quality coaches from across college football, and almost all of them fell flat. I mean, they hired Bronco Mendenhall, fell flat. They hired Justin Fuente, fell flat.
Yeah.
Dino Babers fell flat. And it's just, they struggled. They struggled across the board. None of the hire. Could you imagine? It was like, what if Justin Fuente had worked out at Virginia Tech and VT was a power right now? I mean, he probably would have been hired away by an SEC school by now, but it is what it is because those ACC schools just don't have the money to keep guys if the SEC comes a-calling. When we come back, Cole, if you had to get a tattoo to represent where you and your wife or your girlfriend met, what would it be? This tattoo might be the most disgusting thing I've ever heard of. It's hilariously disgusting. First of all, I don't want to gross anybody out. But what would your tattoo be? 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. That's coming up next on the Fan Upstate. So, Cole, every single day, you and I get sent a prep sheet for sports content. Usually it's outdated. It's like 2 or 3 days old at this point. It's all stories that we know. And when your job is to be on the cutting edge of what's going on in sports, you can't wait for the prep sheet to come out. At that point, it's old news and you can't talk about it. But every now and again, Cole, there are little nuggets of random information that have nothing at all to do with sports. Oddities, right. And it just kind of catches your attention, Cole. And I want to know from our Tolos if any of them have tattoos that represent where they and their wives, girlfriends, husbands, boyfriends, whatever, where they met. And if you don't have one, what would it be? So the story, it was featured in the New York Post, Cole. It's about a woman who says that she and her husband met some like 35 some odd years ago. She was 19 years old. She was working at a grocery store as like a cashier supervisor, kind of a manager role. And she met a guy that got a job. And her first time working with this guy was helping to stock the toilet paper aisle.
Oh, wow.
So she got a tattoo of a giant roll of toilet paper down her calf, surrounded in butterflies for some reason, because I guess when she first saw this guy, it gave her butterflies.
Absolutely.
And so she got this tattoo made. Now, like, I get it if you're covered in tattoos and you like to use tattoos as kind of like the movie Memento, where it's like, oh, I remember doing this thing, that thing, that thing. And so you're kind of covered in random tattoos. But this is the only one visible in any of the photos they show of this woman. So it's entirely possible that her only tattoo is a giant roll of toilet, and she's kind of a big girl, so it's a big tattoo.
Wow.
I'm not casting
About,
aspersions.
350?
Well, yeah, she's kind of built like a linebacker, you know, like
Jeez, offensive line for
I'm
the
telling
Cowboys,
you,
right?
if she and Lawrence Taylor ran into each other, it might be a battle to see who would come out on top. But it's neither here nor there. She's just got this giant golden roll of toilet paper. Like, you see the roll, and then you see like the sheet coming down, like in like a little flowing ribbon style pattern. There's like numbers in there. It's got to represent dates or something.
Wow.
But she wrapped it in butterflies, and then has like a cat perched on top of the toilet paper roll. I'm sure that holds more hidden meaning, but it just blew me away.
I don't
Somebody
know.
would get that to commemorate their love.
I always wonder when people get tattoos, like, and I have 2 of them, but you see people out in public, Diesel, who have like a million tattoos. I always wonder if one day they're going to sit there and think, what was I doing getting that tattoo when I was 20 years
I don't
old?
think you can't think of it like that.
But you got to think that happens, right?
Well,
I mean,
yeah, people regret
why
their
do I
tattoos
have
all the
a
time.
bunny with a with a nose pierce on the back of my ankle? I mean, it's just the craziest things. Look, I have no problem with tattoos. I like them. For me, getting a tattoo, I wanted to have meaning, but I guess toilet paper's meaning, right?
I mean, there's meaning in anything, but the choice was toilet paper.
What's it mean to you, right? If it means something to you, I mean, I can't cast judgment on her, but that. Can you imagine showing up to a function, a Christmas party, a family, 4th of July?
Go to the beach. People don't realize that you have this tattooed on your leg. JD says his would be California Dreaming, because that's where he met his wife in Charleston. What do you mean California? Like the restaurant?
The restaurant, yeah.
What does that mean? The logo? You would tattoo the logo of California Dreaming Restaurant on your body somewhere to represent that? Is that what you mean?
Now you're making me hungry. You know why?
I haven't been to California Dreaming in so
but they
long.
have the best those rolls, like what do they call them? The croissants, the honey butter croissant. You hadn't been there in a long time?
Not in a long time.
It's the best
Not in a
croissant.
long time.
That's bad that sometimes you think of places and you think of their bread.
Mine would be a probably a bar stool. I'm trying to think how to depict this. Probably a bar stool, because my wife and I met at a friend's like basement party. Like, it was a basement party with a bar stool, with a bunch of bar stools. He built a bar into his basement and had bar stools all around. Maybe that would be the best representation of it, because I don't really know how you tattoo a basement onto your leg or something.
Yeah, unless you just did the letter B, right? And B for basement or bar stool. Jersey Joe wants to weigh in. What's up, Jersey Joe?
Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Good,
Great.
Well, if I was to get a tattoo, it'd be some type of a highway picture, like, and then a black car on the highway.
You met on a highway?
That sounds
were
dark,
You, were you
Jersey Joe.
hitchhiking, or what happened?
I met my wife on the highway on 26, just outside of Columbia. My son back in 2009, 2009, was playing for Malden High School football. Headed down to Fort Dorchester for a playoff game. And I met this girl. She had a Malden car flag on her car, and she's headed down 26, and I'm headed down 26. And I was just going through a divorce, and I look over and I see this girl, and I was like, "Hey, all right." I gave one of those "How you doing" waves, you know.
Wait. You pulled the Vegas vacation where he sees Christy Brinkley in the Ferrari next to him, and you married that girl?
So how'd you get her attention?
Well, actually, she noticed an old sticker on the back of my car from a town in Jersey where I grew up. Wow. Come to find out, world. She used to live like 10 minutes away from me.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So you met her at the game and had a hot dog, or what?
Well, we met at the concession stand at halftime, and bunch of questions here and there, Did you like the rest is history?
How Jersey Joe? How did you even pick her out of the crowd? Did you just kind of both happen to be at the concession stand at the same time? You're like, hey, it's you.
I saw you riding down the road earlier, right?
Yeah. She came up to me. She says, "Hey, I need to ask you. Is that a sticker on the back of your car? Is that New Jersey?" I says, "Yeah." She's like, "I went to this high school." I says, "I graduated from that high school."
Oh my wow, that's a great story. Thanks for the call, Jersey Joe. Forget about
that's a heartwarming
is
way.
Awesome. We didn't hear. He didn't give us a forget about. He always does that on the stream, right? The forget about. He did give us a how you doing.
JD says that's fate, Jersey Joe.
That is awesome.
Corn Chip says he would get something Georgia Southern related since they met there as students.
Toilet paper. Speaking of toilet paper, right?
Google happy birthday, Rick. I don't know what that means. Google happy birthday, but we should say happy birthday to Rob Brown because today is Rob's birthday. I believe Rob turned 40 today.
Big 4-0?
I think so.
Ooh, y'all are getting old, man. Y'all getting old up in here.
I'm telling you.
Tolos, we'll talk Clemson basketball in the very next segment and be joined by Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com next. Clemson back in action tonight. Maybe the hottest team in the country. I mean, is there a team that you can think of that's hotter right now than the Clemson Tigers are? And I know they've only won, 4 in a row. They had the loss a couple of weeks ago, Diesel, to Georgia Tech. But right now the Clemson Tigers seem to be moving and grooving to the beat of their own drum because they have been sensational. And then tonight, back in action as Clemson host Notre Dame, the Irish, at Little John, 7 o'clock. The game will be televised on the ACC network. So if you don't have the ACC network, you are SOL. But number 13, Clemson, 22-5, 14-2 in the ACC. Only losses to Louisville and Georgia Tech the entire season. Diesel, they are favored by, do you know how many?
I'm going to guess 8.5.
14.5 points tonight at home.
I mean, look, how is it possible that the ACC's total collapse from so many of its blue bloods, North Carolina, Miami, Notre Dame, Virginia, all of those happen in the same year? 4 programs that the ACC counts on to be very good year in and year out all took a big, stinky, steaming dump this year, while all of the SEC programs all came back up at the same time.
It's scripted.
Yeah, of course.
Right? I mean, we say that in NFL. Why don't we say that in college? I mean, where are the
Clearly, ESPN is pulling strings, right? Because people always say that when it comes to conference realignment. Oh, it's because ESPN wants these two teams. If ESPN wanted Clemson in the SEC, they would be in the SEC. Maybe. I doubt it. I doubt that they have that much control.
How about this? How about Clemson being at the top or second in the ACC? Welcome to 2025, where you mentioned, you mentioned, Diesel, the blue bloods of the past that aren't at the top of the conference. Not only are they not at the top of the sport, they're not at the top of their own conference. Tony Bennett says, hey, I'm out. And we're like, wait, isn't he one of the best ever?
Yeah.
And he just says, peace out. I'll see y'all later. Virginia's no good. Duke's 16-1. Only 1 loss in conference play. So it's quite fascinating. But, again, 2025, where Duke and Clemson are right there at the top. Louisville, a good team as well. I mentioned that 1 loss that Clemson had, coming to Louisville early in the season. But let's go to the stream where we're joined live by Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com. Check him out if you haven't done so already on X. Also on TigerNet.com, you can see his work there. He's fantastic, and he joins us now right here on the Fan Upstate. Grayson, the college basketball season winding down, but the Tigers, I said a minute ago, they're beating to their own drum right now. Back in action tonight against Notre Dame. And Diesel and I mentioned it, that the big test remaining was SMU, and they seemed to check that right off of the check that box, if you will. And Clemson basketball tonight in action versus Notre Dame. Grayson, your thoughts on where this program is going down the stretch, seeming to be playing their best basketball at the right time?
Absolutely. Won 10 of their last 11, which is incredible for a team playing. I know the ACC is still sort of in its down point for this year, but I think winning 10 of your 11 games in this part of the season is still incredibly impressive. And you're right, this team is beating to the tune of their own drum, and they're playing fantastic basketball, very fluid. They can win in several different ways, whether Jaden Zachary goes 5 of 5, or you have Ignite where you dominate Duke in the paint. So there's a lot of different things that this group is accomplishing. And I think I just leave myself impressed every single time I watch them. And you're always waiting, I think, Cole, for that landmine game where you feel like everything goes wrong. I think that was Georgia Tech to an extent with Locken fouling out. But for the most part, I had someone ask me sort of what would be your critiques, and I find it hard to come up with notes if I'm going to be really nitpicky. It's maybe front court depth. We saw that a little bit against SMU where the size sort of battled its way back into the game, but they shot their way to that win in Dallas, so you sort of check that box off. The last 4 games at this point are going to be about where they are going to be seated in March, it's not really a matter of, are they going to make it? They're going to be in there. They're going to be a pretty high seed. It's just a matter of where at this point.
Grayson, let's say Clemson closes this season out by winning all of its remaining games. It has a great win streak going to end this thing. They're riding as high as they possibly could be. They're playing hot basketball, and then things don't necessarily go their way in the ACC tournament. Let's say they take a first-round exit or a second-round exit. How has Brad Brownell equipped this team to be able to handle sort of that level of disappointment, to be able to maybe turn that into a positive or find a way to just coach this team up when they may be exiting early?
And you, just to clarify, you're talking about the ACC tournament, not the
Correct.
March
Yes,
Madness. Okay.
ACC tournament.
Yeah, I mean, they did this same thing last year where you run into the Boston College buzzsaw that was Jaden Zachary's defense, where Chase Hunter puts up a stinker and you leave a first-round exit, and it's, okay, where is this team necessarily going to go once this tournament gets ready to roll? And then you see that flip switch against New Mexico. You see that switch against Baylor where they're playing a lot of great defense. They're creating turnovers. And then Chase Hunter turns into a monster and is your best player throughout that tournament. And so that's sort of at the back of my mind as well. Is there going to be another Chase Hunter-esque type of run from a different player? We know what Chase Hunter can do, but is it going to be someone like Jaden Zachary that explodes off the page offensively? Is Victor Locken going to do what he did against Duke and UNC again? So I think in terms of the ACC tournament, it's probably a three-headed race between Louisville, Duke, and Clemson, probably for the title at this point, if I had to make that estimation. But yeah, very well, there could be a team like North Carolina that just blew off the brakes of Florida State last night. Or you have another team like SMU just get you on the right day. And that's the beauty of March, right? You get one shot at it, and if you don't get it right on the first time, you're gone. You're out of the tournament. And so that's what makes sort of the stakes high, is Clemson could have a phenomenal season, and you run into McNeese, a mid-major team, and you're done. That's just the way the cookie crumbles.
We're joined by Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com. Tolos, if you're listening, that's fantastic. You can also watch Grayson. He's joining us via the stream on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Grayson, I've been really impressed with the growth, I guess the maturation of Victor Locken from early in the season to now. Man, he seems like a different player. And I believe it was the SMU game, correct me if I'm wrong, gets 2 early fouls, right? And in December – we'd have thought, oh, boy, I mean, we saw that. You mentioned him in foul trouble just a minute ago, but what did he do? He didn't have a foul until, like, late in the game, a minute and a half or so to go in the game. I just think that the maturation and the growth that we've seen from Victor has been key to Clemson's success. Your thoughts on Victor and what you've seen?
And Brad Brownell has expressed this very articulately, where they had a deep conversation after the Georgia Tech matchup where Victor Locken fouls out, playing a little bit out of control in the post. Georgia Tech certainly taking advantage of that as well. And you saw early teams like Duke and UNC really hunting Locken, like teams what used to do against PJ Hall, where you'd really hunt him and try to see if he'll swat at you and get a couple early fouls, and then you have to really go into a panic mode on the rotation, especially without Christian Reeves against SMU. And so you're thinking, okay, how is this going to go? Is this going to be an avalanche that continues to snowball to the bottom of the hill and SMU's running Clemson out the building, or is it going to be more of a balanced approach? And so Locken has really come together as a shooter. He's shooting a lot better from three-point land. I think it's really fun to see someone of that size shoot the way he can from deep. And then at the post, he's a lot more controlled. I think his center of gravity has been remarkably improved, where he's not flailing as much and drawing offensive fouls. And so there's a little more of, hey, I have this big stature, I'm going to go after people. And so you have that extra element of you can go 5 out with this group, with that starting 5, especially with Dylan Hunter into the mix, or you can get a little bit aggressive and physically bruise your way to a win. And Victor Locken, I know a lot has been made about Chauncey Wiggins being this team's ultimate X factor, but I think Victor Locken his stock has continued to rise and just proves the mastery of the portal that Brownell has continued to grab.
Grayson, what really stood out to you in the post-game press conference from the SMU game, especially knowing that Dylan Hunter didn't have a great game? Everybody around him did. The other 4 starters all finished in double figures, and players coming off the bench were scoring a lot of points. Dylan didn't have the strongest game there. Talk about the personality of this team in the sense that if one guy isn't playing up to snuff, there's always going to be 2 or 3 more guys around him that can pick that up. And like, what does that mean on a selflessness level for this team?
Right. I think they had a team high 24 assists against SMU. So they were moving the rock around at a pretty incredible rate. When you have that sort of fluidity, I think you have an older group to credit. And Brownell will be the first one to tell you is we have this veteran group that is fit together seamlessly once again, where you have a couple starters from the portal meshing with homegrown talent and just seeing how it works. We've seen an example of this even in football, basketball, baseball, other sports where you find these new faces. They don't exactly fit into the puzzle like you originally thought, but this has been another seamless fit. And this group, I think you can tell on the floor, they're playing with a lot of pace. They understand where they're going to be in different spots, whether it's running different sets, different plays. They just have this understanding that innately you just can't really coach. And so it's been fascinating to watch. I think Brownell was pretty impressed after the post-game presser of, this was a great win for us. This was a great win for this team. Another quad one win. They're going to finish 4-2 in that category, barring some complete stock rise from a UNC or Penn State that'll bump that category up a little bit. But at this point now, I think it's going to be closing out the regular season the right way, not looking too far ahead to what's coming in March, because this is a community that is stoked out of its mind to get ready to the next month. They cannot wait for the madness to begin. And I think basketball fans share that sentiment, but Clemson fans, back-to-back tournament appearances since 2010, it's tough not to be excited about what this group could potentially accomplish once again.
Grayson, you've seen Clemson up close and personal several times, many times this year, and you've also seen the ACC and their other members up close and personal. We know there's a lot of talk about the ACC being down and not what it once was. Is there any part of you, and tell me if the answer is no here, but is there any part of you that is just curious as to if Clemson has seen enough? Meaning maybe, the SEC gauntlet prepares its members a little bit better this year for the SEC or, for the postseason tournament? Or do you feel like this Clemson team, with the confidence they're playing with, is ready for whatever is thrown their way when we do get to, the first, second round of the tournament?
I think I'd be more cautiously optimistic if they weren't beating up on the little other teams in a more efficient rate, where you're barely scraping against Florida State, or when you play against a Miami team that lost their head coach in December, you're thinking, oh, okay, this is going to be a little too close for comfort, and they're 6-20 now. They're just taking care of teams in a fashion where on the floor, what I'm seeing is a team that's just a little bit above a level, and I think we'll see that again tonight against Notre Dame. There's just the quality of opponent. It ticks up and down, and of course, you're going to relay the game against South Carolina. You're going to talk about the Boise State game, or where the team had the flu troubles and you're having to travel to Louisville and play Pat Kelsey, who's doing a great job over there. But so I think this team is battle tested. I think they're ready. The key for them is going to be staying healthy. And that's what I think makes this double bye so important for this group, is you get a little bit of fresh legs heading into March. I think tonight with the win, not only do you accomplish some pretty historic things for the program and what Brad Brownell has done, I think he gets the most regular season wins in his tenure at Clemson with the win tonight. But you also get that double bye, and you get to be able to clinch that.
Sorry about that. Didn't mean to step on you there. Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com. Make sure you look him up and give him a follow on Twitter at Gray_Man. That's man with 2 N's. 21. Definitely want to transition over and talk about baseball here for just a minute. But I was perusing around ESPN.com earlier today, and there was an article about players that teams really needed to retain on the football side of things. And I hadn't seen anything about most of these players wanting to leave their given schools, but ESPN listed Bryant Wesco as Clemson's top player retention coming out of the 2024 season, but doesn't indicate that he had any reason or desire to leave Clemson. Is there a player or two that maybe you heard some inside rumblings that were maybe interested in leaving Clemson that needed a little bit of encouragement to stick around? I mean, that certainly would fly in the face of the entire personality and mission statement of Clemson football, of keeping guys in-house for as long as possible.
It's interesting that their choice was Bryant Wesco, because I feel like if you're going to talk about retention, you'd probably start with the quarterback that announced he was coming back for his senior season, or your All-American and Peter Woods. You're talking about TJ Parker, who had a career year last year. So no disrespect to Wesco there. Obviously, he's a phenomenal player that's got a lot of room to grow, and I'm really pumped to see what he can do in year 2. But that's interesting from ESPN. But I think to answer your question, it was really interesting. Immediately after the season, you let go of Wesco to win. You had a lot of uncertainty. I think each team has to deal with that now. With the NIL era, it's like everyone signs a 1-year contract, and then you move on to the next year, and you just sort of rinse and repeat the process over and over again. But I think in terms of rumblings that I heard, a lot of it was just trying to get things finalized. And even with the uncertainty of defensive coordinator, these players wanted to come back. And of course, there are going to be teams that are going to put out flyers, put out feelers, say, hey, we could offer you XYZ to come over here. Now, do we have names of those teams? Not necessarily. We just have an understanding that that's happening. I think that's happening everywhere. So to answer your question, I think there might have been players that have maybe entertained a phone call or two, but I think the majority of the players that returned were going to be with Clemson as long as the numbers were right, as long as everything logistically was taken care of. So I think for Clemson fans, it was a lot of waiting and seeing, but I think behind the scenes, and to Sweeney and the staff's credit, it was handled incredibly well.
Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com. Diesel teased it just a second ago. The Palmetto Series rivalry on deck just a couple of days away. Friday at Clemson, Saturday here in Greenville at Floor Field, and then Sunday afternoon, or Sunday evening rather, at South Carolina in Columbia. Your immediate thoughts. Diesel and I, we talked about this on Monday, kind of our first look, our first reaction. And, you know, we're pretty much on the same page. Diesel said that he believes Clemson could take 2 of 3. I said I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Clemson sweeps the series. Very impressed with South Carolina, but Clemson's faced a little bit tougher competition. Your initial thoughts on the series that fan bases, or that fans of both teams, rather, should want to pay attention to?
Right, and Eric Bakich kicked things off last night and said, we can play him in Floor Field, we can play him here, we can play him there, we can play him in the freaking parking lot. He seemed like he was ready to go. He said, could we play this tomorrow if we could? But I think for this group, and my concern going into the season was going to be about this pitching staff and how the rotation certainly worked out. And I had heard some floatings of offensive concern, but I think that's just when you're playing baseball in cold February, some things just don't necessarily fall the way that you really want them to. But this is a starting 9 beyond that, too, that is incredibly deep. There's a lot of offensive firepower. You saw that yesterday against Winthrop, where you put up 20 runs, which is pretty incredible to start to kick things off in non-conference. And you alluded to it. They had that early test in Dallas where you play teams that are probably going to be hosting regionals, going to have at least a say in that matter. They're going to be top teams in the country. So Clemson has faced a little bit more resistance, but I think there's just something different when it comes to the rivalry. There's a little bit more of an air to it. There's a little bit more of I think, high stakes. It's almost like a regional its own, where you have such, I think, bragging rights. You have both fan bases coming together. South Carolina is a really good team this year. I like what they've seen. I'd like see what I'd like from them, but I think Clemson's faced a little bit more tough resistance. I think right now I'd probably give 2 of 3 to them, just based on how things go. Sunday still worries me. Warnick put up a good 6-inning outing on Sunday, but I'm not sure if that's finalized quite yet. But I do think Canuck and Darden is your Friday and Saturday guys. Do give you enough of a chance with the offense that you have to be able to have not only some real estate, but some cushion with what you're getting throwing out there.
Grayson, did Clemson need Winthrop to push him a little bit in those early to mid innings? Because it certainly was not decided until Clemson had that big offensive output later in the innings and eventually run ruled Winthrop. But to have a team like that, you know, a lot of Clemson players, and let's remember these are 19, 20, 21-year-old kids, may think, oh, that's just little old Winthrop. They're a little bit below us. Well, they pushed them. They made it at least entertaining and interesting through that 3rd, 4th inning and then open things up. Do teams need games like that or situations like that to remind themselves that they are not invincible just because of the big letter C that's stitched on their jersey?
And I think Bakich alluded to that last night where it said it's important to be able to say we can't just out-hit these guys and expect the win. And so the first 4 innings, I think, to what you guys described, it was pretty odd. I mean, you had a lot of just weird situational stuff going on. Winthrop's rotating through pitchers. Like I drink Diet Coke, just a lot of it. It's just, there was a lot going on. So for Clemson to be able to sort of navigate that and sort of ride the wave, you go down early, 2 runs, you bounce back, then they push a little bit, and you have to rotate through a couple things. I thought B.J. Bailey played pretty well in relief there through that stretch, and so you had a nice combination there going. Then you have Jacob Jarrell open things up, Luke Gaffney gets a homer, Josh Pano gets a homer, so everyone was sort of contributing, and you have that momentum to ride into Friday where there's going to be a lot of energy. You're in the same ballpark. There's a little bit of a rhythm with this starting order that gets built, and I think that really starts on Friday.
Grayson, my last question for you. You mentioned it. Sunday, to me, is the question mark. Sundays, you know, if you told me today on, Wednesday, February 26th, that South Carolina wins a game, I'd be pretty confident in saying that it might be on Sunday, right? I don't know, you know, I believe out in Arlington, Clemson had 7 or 8 guys, make mound appearances, and some younger guys as well. Has Eric Bakich talked about what the plan is there? Obviously, Clemson had an injury that has made things interesting on Sunday, and also what's the latest on that?
Yeah, I think they just had surgery last night, so they're on their road to recovery. But I think in terms of Sunday, it was very important for LeGornick to have that outing because he got slogged around against Ole Miss, where it was just a nightmare scenario for your first start of the year, where you go out there and you give a ton of runs. And I think confidence-wise, to bounce back, win a more low-scoring game, be in control of things situationally, play a career high in innings, that's going to be something this team needs to rely on instead of going to the bottom of the barrel and pulling pitchers out, and it just drags on and sort of messes maybe a flow for your midweek rotation. So for this group, I think getting somebody that can reliably give you 6-5 innings, especially against the Gamecocks where things are going to be a little tighter, you're going to see a lot of different stuff. You're going to see a lot of different styles. So I think it was important for that Sunday. I think I need to see a little more. Obviously, the difference between NCAT and South Carolina is a little drastic. So if you were able to put that kind of performance up once again against your rival, I think that gives Bakich enough confidence to pull the trigger and say, this is our Sunday guy moving forward, barring an injury or barring just another down stretch.
He is Grayson Mann, a fantastic reporter and podcaster for TigerNet.com. Make sure you look him up on X at Gray_Man21. We appreciate your time as always. All of our Tolos, please go over and find him on Twitter and give him a follow. Help him continue to grow. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
See you, man.
That is Grayson Mann of TigerNet, man. Just one of the best when it comes to finger on the pulse. There's an awful lot to pay attention to, and it never stops coming, and he does a fantastic job of that. When we come back, Cole, on the other side of the break, TGL, the Tiger Golf League, I think that's what it's called. I really don't know. I don't pay a ton of attention to it. And apparently neither does the world, because they are falling off drastically in ratings. Are you still watching? We'll talk about that next. Tiger Woods Golf League has attempted to infuse technology into the game to get you to watch. But are you watching TGL? Well, I can give you the answer. No, you're not. I mean, maybe you personally are watching TGL, but the ratings are out and it's showing, Cole, that a lot of people are ditching TGL, not watching. From week 1 to week 5, they have lost nearly half of their viewership.
Not good, right?
It's not good. It's not good. And look, anytime you're presenting a new TV show, you're going to get people who wait until episode 2, 3 to start tuning in and say, okay, I'm into this. People start word of mouth telling their friends about it. Hey, you got to watch this TGL. You got to watch what's going on over there. So from week to week to week, Cole, it hasn't been just a straight drop off from week 1 to week 5. There have been some peaks and some valleys, but where this sport or this broadcast is right now when it comes to viewership ain't good. And it doesn't necessarily paint a pretty picture for where this league could go. Now, I don't know how many weeks they plan on engaging in this TV show, but through 5 weeks, Cole, here has been their weekly viewership. Week 1, 919,000 viewers, just shy of 1 million. Pretty good, right? Week 2, they jumped 1 million, so 1,005,000 viewers. Great. People are catching on. They're telling their friends. People are tuning in to watch it. And then things started going downhill from there. Week 3, 682,000 viewers. Week 4, this is the week that Rory came on the show, and Rory and Tiger faced off, 864,000 viewers. And then week 5, just 554,000 viewers. So, Cole, you can see that spikes happen when people are telling their friends about it. Spikes happen when you put another huge name like Rory McIlroy on the show. But when they're not there and the show has to exist based on its own merits, it's fallen off.
Yeah.
Pretty hard and pretty fast. And I just wonder from Tolos, 844-326-3663, are you still watching TGL?
You know, it's interesting. It kind of seems, Diesel, as if it were a game show that came on TV. There was a famous host of the game show, and you know, things went well for a few weeks, and the game show was talked about. And I think this is reality because I think this happens with a lot of game shows out there. And if you still watch game shows, you know, maybe you can think of one better than I can. But to me, this is a good concept, but I don't think it's a great concept. I don't think it's a concept that wows the non-golfers. Like, I'm not a golf extraordinaire. I'm not a golf expert. I enjoy watching golf tournaments on TV, but this has not done enough for the me's of the world to get me intrigued. I don't know that I've watched more than 5 minutes of it consecutively since it started. I just think ultimately golf is a sport that's based around what? It's big tournaments. It's Daytona 500s. It's Super Bowls. That's what golf is based on. How many people watched the Genesis Open a couple of weeks ago, right? Probably not many. I think golf's an interesting sport in that aspect. It's a cool idea, a cool way to showcase these golfers and some cool technology. But at the end of the day, I just don't think it's great enough of an idea.
Well, not to go off on a tangent, but what you just touched on might be a great thing for NASCAR to do, to implement sort of a golf majors system where there's multiple races throughout the season. And you can tell me they already do this, and I wouldn't know because I don't watch NASCAR. To implement multiple races throughout the season that are the big tentpole races that are worth more, that do something special that your random weekend tournament or random Sunday race just doesn't do. Cole, I think as somebody who plays golf, I think it's a really interesting concept. But I think it really only works for somebody who plays the game and wants to improve their game. Like, I can't go anywhere and play this. Now, if this show was meant to launch a competitor to Topgolf, which we have one just up the road here from the station. We'd love for Topgolf to be a sponsor of the show. Hit us up. Give us a call. But they're not. If it was meant to be a competitor to that, I think it'd be really fascinating and a great way, I think, to go play courses as close to simulating the actual course as you could. Like, I've always wanted to go play TPC Sawgrass. I've always wanted to go play Pebble Beach. But I can't do that. I don't have the kind of money. I don't have the kind of pull to go out there and do it. But I could go out there and play it on a sim as close as possible as I could to the real thing. That's maybe interesting once or twice, but Cole, the execution of what they're doing in a lot of ways just falls completely flat, and they're screwing the pooch on how they're doing things. Number one, the concept of having kind of a Ryder Cup team scenario, that's good if you're into the Ryder Cup. I don't ever spend a ton of time watching the Ryder Cup, but that's cool if you're into that team element. But then they have multiple rounds where they break this thing apart, and now you're not on. You started on a team, now you're not on a team, and now you have this challenge, that challenge. I think it's overcomplicated for the fans. The technology that they're using, while the technology when it comes to spinning the green and raising and lowering these jacks that make the green undulate, I think that's really interesting and cool. But using the TrackMan, it's not even TrackMan, what's it called? Top Tracer technology, which, by the way, Tiger Woods is an owner of, has totally shown that the technology just isn't there yet for this format of a TV show. For example, and this happened multiple times on the show, Tommy Fleetwood absolutely belted a drive down the middle, and the TrackMan says, excuse me, not TrackMan, Top Tracer. Top Tracer said the ball only went 39 yards. Well, clearly he just piped one down the middle, but it says it only went 39 yards. So they said, oh, let's just redo. Let's play it again. I get it. Technology is what it is. But when you're putting millions and millions and millions of dollars into this tech, you better make sure it works before you put it on TV and the whole world sees that this technology sucks and it's not ready.
Well, ultimately, for me, I think you touched on it. I understand the technology aspect of it, but ultimately, I think it comes down to what the sport is. Golf is a sport that people enjoy playing because of the challenges and the different courses and the challenges that different courses present. When you are watching someone and play with this new cool shiny toy, it's cool at first, but then you say, oh, okay, they're getting to play with it. I'm not experiencing it. I'm not getting to try out the new toy. What is in it for me? What am I learning? Because I think that, when I watch golf as a non-golf guy, but someone who enjoys watching the tournaments, especially the big ones, I love seeing the challenges. I love seeing, the golfers, the best in the world, struggle and then come back from their struggles. And again, not saying you don't get that on these simulators, but I don't think the simulators are why people watch the sport. Going back to the NASCAR reference, what if they showed, drivers on a Tuesday night in a NASCAR sim, right? Because a lot of drivers use simulators. Well, you know what? If there was a simulator right there in this studio, you and I would probably love to do it. But you know what we wouldn't love to do? We wouldn't love to sit here and watch each other do it for 2 hours. I mean, well, oh, wow, cool. We want to play with the toy, right? And that, I think that ultimately that's what it comes down to.
Do you remember what it was like to be a little kid and your brother had the next newest game console, but they only had the one controller that came with the game or with the console? And so you can only watch him play until it's your turn.
Yeah, that sucks.
And that sucks. You get up and walk away because there's no fun to sit and watch somebody else play the game. The biggest problem, Cole, I mean, you could probably overcome a lot of the technical issues, and I'm sure over time, if this league survives for a number of years, they could fix the issues with Tiger's Top Tracer. They could, kind of iron out some of those problems. But the thing they can't fix is most of these golfers are just dull. They're just boring guys. Tiger Woods has never been accused of having a great personality and somebody that's funny that you want to watch, that's engaging, that brings out the personality in other players. They had to beg
Tiger to come on the stage with the president a couple of weeks ago. He was hiding in the background. He doesn't have that personality.
Yeah, his personality is I'm a quiet killer.
Yeah, it is.
It's I'm gonna not say a word. You're not gonna see me smile. You're not gonna see any emotion. I'm just gonna go out there and beat you by 20 strokes. That's Tiger Woods' personality, and that's compelling. It's mysterious when he's an up and coming golfer, but once everybody gets to know who he is off the course, it's lacking. And when this was designed to show off the personalities, get a lot of golfers together, mic them up, show their personalities, and it's designed to sort of compete in a not direct head-to-head way, but to compete with YouTube golfers and just how entertaining and engaging guys like Good Golf and Peter Finch and Rick Shields are on YouTube. This falls way flat.
Also, I think
way flat.
I think a lot of it has to do with the golfers. Like, no disrespect to the ones playing, how many of them are in their wow era, the Michael Jordan prime era? Tiger Woods does this 15 years ago. We're probably all watching it every single night because Tiger Woods was the greatest thing since sliced bread 15 years ago. Tiger Woods is old now. Tiger Woods really doesn't move. Like, he's still an important part of the sport, but he's not Tiger Woods.
He's a brand more than a legit
player.
golfer.
Yeah, he is.
844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663 is how you can text in and be a part of the conversation. Do you still watch TGL? Kane on the stream says, nope. Another texter says, didn't NASCAR do that in 2020 and people actually watched? You're talking about The Sims and streaming it. Yeah, but this isn't 2020. People aren't stuck in their houses. People can go out and do things. We're not begging for something to watch the way that we were in 2020. Michael says the disconnect is still the LIV Tour and the PGA Tour. Not entirely sure what you mean by that, Michael. Let us know. Texter says, while I agree with y'all, most of the biggest streamers on YouTube and social media are all gamers. People will sit and watch them play Fortnite for hours. Yeah, kids will watch them play Fortnite for hours on YouTube, but the hard numbers are showing that TGL has lost 50%, almost 50% of its audience in 5 weeks. Now, I guarantee you, the muckety-mucks at ESPN are saying, whoa, we got to do something to get these numbers back up, and we're going to cancel this garbage. I wonder, Cole, if we're going to start seeing, instead of being all golfers, professional golfers, if we're going to start seeing celebrity appearances on this. You know, if you start seeing, what was that show on TNT where they brought in Nate Bargatze, and they had the NBA on TNT crew basically doing play-by-play. That was entertaining because those guys are legitimately entertaining.
Yeah, I'll watch John Daly if he's on there.
Talking trash to these players.
If John Daly's on there next week, I might watch. I mean, who doesn't love John? Personalities may help, but ultimately, it's a tough. I think we all understood that this was never going to hit like millions. You know, it's going to be cool, but like I said, it's not going to be great. However, what is great is the college basketball season winding down and the SoCon games that we have on the slate tonight. You'll hear one of them right here on the Fan Upstate. We'll dive a little bit into the SoCon and some of the games happening tonight. And by the way, this is the last week of the regular season, for the SoCon. So these games really, really matter. We'll talk SoCon next. is a big night in the SoCon. We are coming down the stretch when it comes to SoCon basketball. Furman in action tonight, and you can hear that game right here on the Fan Upstate. 1, 2, 3 games tonight. Furman taking on the Citadel. Furman is favored by 15.5 points. Wofford, Western Carolina tonight, and Mercer, ETSU as well. 3 games in the SoCon, and just so happened that Dan Scott, the play-by-play voice of the Furman Paladins, connected right during the commercial break. And Dan, you know, the Furman Paladins season is winding down, 9-7 in SoCon now. The Citadel have struggled this season, looking for their first conference win, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, it's correct. And do me a favor, kill that echo in my head.
Okay,
There's
working
way
on that.
Too much space in my head. For
Wait a minute. Is that better? Or no?
No, it's not.
All right, I'll work on that.
I'll kill the return on my end. That'll help.
Okay.
But in any event, the Citadel, they've not won a league game, but you just look at our game down there. We had to make a tremendous rally at the end of regulation, and then they had 2 shots at the end of regulation, a jump shot from the free throw line and a putback off of that miss that they missed for the game to go to overtime, and Furman won the game in overtime, and they have lost here in the second half of the season a number of games just like that. So, I would much rather be playing a team that already had 2 or 3 wins than a team that's still looking for its first league win coming into play, believe me.
You know, Dan, there's that old adage for a lot of teams that you are who you are at this point of the season. Don't try to install anything new. Don't try to reinvent the wheel after your, 20, 25 games into the season. But this Furman team has been up and down throughout the season. When they play their brand of basketball, they can be truly electric and fantastic to watch. But other nights, for whatever reason, it's just not there. So what is the refrain for Bob Ritchie to try to build consistency and to replicate the level of play that they know they're capable of?
Well, I think what you have to do is go back and look
I don't know what would be causing that
what
echo.
has transpired in the last
Coming back to his
1,
ears.
2, 3, 4, 5 games. Prior to that, and Bob he's always been a guy who expects his team to play defense, but Bob loves offense, and he loves the metrics of the offensive game, and he expects his teams to always perform offensively. Well, this team has a deficiency from the perimeter in the 3 and 4 spots on offense with certain combinations. But that also, with those certain combinations, is their defensive strength. So there was that middle portion of the conference season where we talked about he was tinkering with the lineup to try to get that third shooter on the floor. And what happened was the offensive numbers went up, but the defensive numbers went down. So they made the decision after the 85-72 loss to Chattanooga going into the Mercer game back on February the 12th. They're going to go back to that original starting lineup, the one that was the starting lineup for most of the season, and live with whatever quote-unquote deficiencies they may have from the perimeter. Lock in on being the best defensive team that they can be, and lo and behold, they've won 3 of the next 4 games. They've won back-to-back games for just the second time this season, and they've had 4 consecutive outstanding defensive games. But beyond that, you take out the Greensboro game, and Greensboro's the best defensive team in the league. They've had offensive outputs of 96, 80, and 75, all of which are above what they had been averaging on the season. And it just goes to show if they concentrate on defense, the offense normally comes. So they have finally settled on this is who this team is. This is what our identity is going to be. We're going to live with it, and we're going to roll with it and see what happens. And so far, good things have happened.
Hey, Dan, I want to ask a very important question. You call a lot of games, during the week, also on the weekend as well. Does Dan Scott have the same pregame meal for every game?
Absolutely, because they serve pizza everywhere we go.
How about that? What kind, by the way? We need to know. And what would be the Dan Scott perfect pizza in your mind as far as toppings?
It's almost invariably Papa John's.
Oh, good.
Just about everywhere we go, especially in this league. Western Carolina has a different pizza sponsor. A couple of other places do. Now, when we go on road trips, Tom and I will usually eat somewhere prior to going to the facility. And one of our favorite spots is when we go to Chattanooga. I don't know if you guys have ever been here, but if you haven't, up on the mountain as you're coming into Chattanooga, there's this place called Sugar's Ribs. Wow. It is an absolutely go-to place. We stop there every time we go for basketball, and every other year when we go in there for football, it's our crew stop. But invariably, most of the places we go, it's pizza. It's almost always Papa John's, and I usually stick with the basic, just pepperoni.
I like it. I like it.
Dan, it's hard for a lot of parents. People will ask, which one of your kids do you love the most? And parents won't answer that question. But you have two babies. You have Furman. You have three kids actually. You have Furman football. You have Furman basketball, and you have Colin baseball for the Greenville Drive. Which one of those has your heart the most? Which one do you look forward to the most?
I am not going to answer that question.
We tried. We tried.
Yeah.
Got to ask. Tried.
Listen. Baseball has always been my favorite sport. Okay, everybody knows that. My bosses know that. That's no secret. But Furman is the larger paycheck, so
it's fair.
Let's just let it rest at that. Okay.
Hey, Dan, we'll work on the echo before now in the pregame show. We appreciate you, man.
It's a simple button, guys.
I got to push them all, Dan. I got to push them all.
You've also got a simple person pushing the buttons.
Well, I understand that.
There are a lot of buttons on the board. Dan, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, man.
Dan Scott, play-by-play voice of Furman basketball, and you're going to hear him coming up here at 6:30 on the Fan Upstate. Also coming up next, Cole, it is time for you and I to fight about it. The 5 o'clock fight is next. Cole, I feel like you and I get along pretty well. Good rapport. We've been on the show together for 11 months as of yesterday, by the way.
226 shows.
Yeah, so we are 1 month away from celebrating our 1-year anniversary of
That
Wire
is
to Wire.
904 hours.
How about that, man?
How about that?
Coming up quick on 1,000 hours of radio together.
You know how many minutes that is?
No, I'm not good. I'm not that good at math.
54,240
That's
minutes.
what I would have said.
And if you would have
54,240.
asked seconds, you would have said 3,254,400, right? Just so
Yeah,
you know.
It doesn't feel like any more than 4 million seconds
Right.
of radio together. But this segment that we do every Wednesday, Cole, you and I cannot be friends. We have to take off the LeBron Anthony Davis friendship bracelets. You and I have to fight about it. It's the 5 o'clock fight.
It's an all-out slugfest, and nobody's leaving unscathed. 3 topics, 1 winner. It's the 5 o'clock fight on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Yeah, what voiceover guy said. It's an all-out slugfest. Cole and I pick 3 topics. We must disagree. We must argue opposite sides of the question, and you, the Tolos, text in, you call in, you message in on the stream, and you tell us who wins each round of the 5 o'clock fight. Who do you side with? Who made the most compelling argument? This, Cole, is round number 1. We spent some time last hour talking about it. The question is, Cole, over under 2.5 seasons. How long will TGL last as a television product? Television in its current form on ESPN. If it moves to another network, okay, but still on television. Doesn't count anymore if they take it off and they put it on YouTube or they hide it behind a paywall.
This one's tough. You know what's tough about it? Is that I could see both instances happening. However, we have to choose a side here. And if I have to pick, I'm going to say golf has always seemed to have been backed by money, financially okay, and people will figure out a way to pay for it. And as long as the money's a flowing and the checks are a cashing, then I think it will continue. If the over-under by you is set at 2.5, yeah, I don't think it's going to last 8 or 9 seasons by any means. But I do believe those involved will, 1, still have the financial support, and 2, figure out how to make it a better product. So I'm going to go over.
So you're saying it gets a 3rd season?
Yeah, I think it does.
Well,
I think it does.
Cole,
this is the first, right?
This is the first.
Okay. Yep, 2 more.
Yep.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe it will get a 2nd season and that they will figure out some of the kinks. But I think by that point, Cole, the damage will be done. And ESPN will say, you know what? We're not going to devote primetime air slots to a league that, only 250,000 people are watching week in and week out. We've gone through 5 weeks of this thing. The ratings have dropped from about 900,000 viewers to just under 600,000 viewers. That's losing just shy of half of their viewership, Cole. And ESPN will look at that and say, you know what? Cut and bait. We're not doing this anymore. I don't think there's a chance that this thing gets a 3rd season. It's going to be over. It'll get 1 more, but the damage will be done. People will not watch it, and they will move on at ESPN.
If they can figure out how to make it better. I think the golf junkies will watch. Do the average Joes, the average sports fans watch? That's the problem. But if they don't, you know what? I hope you're not correct there, because it could fall flat on its face quickly.
Cole, here we go with round number 2.
Round 2, fight.
Will Clemson be an Elite 8 team again in 2025? They achieved it last year. Will they repeat as an Elite 8 team?
Oh, this is a tough question that you've brought up. Clemson repeating in the Elite 8. Man, oh man. This one really, Diesel, I'll tell you this. Not many teams, even the Blue Bloods, have figured out the formula, the recipe to consistently make it. It's a tournament. It's a 1-game series, right? If you win, you advance. If you lose, you're done. It's what makes March so fun. But I just think this Clemson team is special. I think they have something that that other teams won't have, and that is age and experience. And I believe that when it comes to March Madness and college basketball and the world of the one and dones, I believe age and experience is valuable. I think experience goes a long way into a team's tournament run. So Elite 8 in 2025, would I put a lot of money on it, Diesel? I don't think so, but for the sake of the argument, I think Clemson does make it back to the Elite 8 again this year.
Cole, you get into the tournament, you got to win 3 games to reach the Elite 8. You got to win in the round of 64, in 32, and in 16. 3 games in a row. Granted, Clemson has gone on multi-game win streaks multiple times this season. That's not a problem. But they're doing that when they have days between games. It is an X factor. It changes things when you get into a tournament format. Plus, we just don't know who they're going to be matched up against. Maybe they get a favorable draw. Maybe they don't. I'm not saying that this team is bad and will not win enough games to get to the Elite 8, but I'm taking chaos here. I think something will happen to trip them up by no fault of their own. It's not like they're going to go out there and lay an egg and look bad and lose in the first round. But, I mean, it all just depends on who they get. So I'm going to say no, they do not reach the Elite 8.
And you know what? Real quick on the basketball point before we move away from college basketball, Grayson Mann brought this up. And I wanted to reiterate because I just think he deserves so much credit when it comes to college basketball. Do you remember a month ago or so I said that we need to go ahead and give the Coach of the Year to Pat Kelsey at Louisville? Diesel, they're 22-6. Pretty good, right? Do you know what Louisville was a season ago? 1 year ago.
Awful, right?
Awful. They were 8-24. 1 year later, Pat Kelsey turns it around from 8-24 and has this team ranked, has this team sitting in a good spot, and they are 22-6. I love what Pat Kelsey's done, man. I think he's going to keep winning games, but it'll be fun though. Clemson Elite 8. I really hope they do. But to your point, the tournament, you never know. It's kind of like a box of chocolates, right? You never know what you're going to get, said Forrest.
2 rounds down, 1 to go. Here we go with round 3.
Final round. Fight.
Cole, I don't know if you're aware of what's going on with Hooters restaurants. They are potentially filing for bankruptcy and could be closing for good. Well, the NBA's Devin Booker was not happy about this. He tweeted out, "Please don't go" at Hooters. And recently, Cole, and by recently I mean in the last 24 hours, DoorDash has gotten in on this situation, and they have offered Devin Booker what appears to be unlimited free wings from Hooters until they potentially close for good. Now, if Hooters figures it out and doesn't close, I mean, Devin Booker's got free wings potentially for life.
Yeah.
The question for you, Cole, is over under. I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to set it also at 2.5 this time. Over under, how many times a week could you eat free chicken wings? Over under is 2.5.
Well, let me tell you, it's very funny. This was not planned, by the way. You and I did not talk about this. It's way over because guess what? 2 days in a row. Yesterday, Tuesday, today, Wednesday, both days I've eaten chicken wings 2 days in a row. You know, they're probably my favorite food. I love them. And there are probably some weeks where I go 3 times a week. Over, easy. 2.5, put it at 4.5. That'd be a bet. I love them. I can eat them every single day.
What if we're talking like 5-6 weeks down the road? Would you still be into eating chicken wings 3 times a week?
I think I eat chicken wings more than any. If you go through my bank statements, I bet it would be rent, bills, and chicken wings. I really believe that. I think I spend too much money. And chicken wings are high. You know that?
They are. That's true.
They're high.
You could be saving a lot of money. It appears that Hooters, it's been a long time since I've been to a Hooters, offers a ton of choices when it comes to chicken wing sauces. They're not
one
like
right here off of Woodruff, right?
Lawrence, yeah. I don't think they do just the basic 3-4 sauces. I think you get real tired of it after that. But Cole, there's no way, man. I'd be 300 pounds within just a couple of weeks.
However,
if I had free chicken wings for life.
But you got to be smart about it. I'll tell you why. I've been watching what I've eaten lately. If you go boneless, you can't do that because if you're trying to watch your weight, boneless are breaded, right? The boneless wings are breaded. And then also, like today, I had wings with no sauce. It's boring, but guess what? If you're trying to, get rid of this big old belly here, you got to do things like that.
I think you got to go dry rub. But if you do dry rub, it's nothing but salt. If you do wet sauces, it's nothing but sugar.
Dry rub's so good.
God, it's such a hard. No, I am a man of variety. I need variety is the spice of life, right?
Yeah.
I cannot eat the same thing 3, 4, 5 times a week, no matter how good it is.
Let me ask you this:
I could, and I love pizza more than anything, but I couldn't have pizza 4 or 5 times.
God,
a week. I can't do it.
I don't know. I saw the Hooters closing that. What you said? Bankruptcy.
Bankruptcy.
What was the cleavage that had that split? I mean, what happened? What cleavage caused them to have to file for bankruptcy?
Well, if you ask a lot of people, it's because they didn't uphold the standard of the wait staff that they used to have.
The standards got like saggy or something?
Something like that. Saggy, chunky, not worth looking at. Look, Hooters made a man out of a lot of young men. Think how many of us. Our dads took us on a trip to Myrtle Beach, and Dad's like, "Honey, let's take the boy to Hooters. It's time that he became a man." And Hooters made a man out of a lot of us.
You know what? There are a lot of those.
It's a rite of passage that's going away.
I get it. It's tough.
So, what say you, Tolos? 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. Jump in on the stream as well. Tell us who won each round of the 5 o'clock fight. To recap, round 1 over-under. How many seasons will TGL last on television? I took the under on 2.5. Cole says they're going to get a 3rd season for sure. Round 2, Clemson in the Elite 8 again. Cole said, yep, they are a veteran team. They got this. And I said, there's a lot of chaos that could happen. I'm voting for chaos. And round 3, over under 2.5 times a week. How often could you eat chicken wings? Cole's taking the over. He says, I could eat it every single day. I'm saying I got to have more variety than that. What say you? Text in your votes and do it while Mr. Announcer Man is telling you how you can suggest a 5 o'clock fight.
What do you want Diesel and Grayson to fight about next? If you've got an ass, I'll kick it. Submit your topics to Diesel at thefanupstate.com. Subject line fight on The Fan Upstate.
While we're getting those votes in at 844-326-3663, let's go to the phone lines and bring on Big Kev's got something to say. What's on your mind?
Hey, man, just give me some Yardbird every day. I'm all right.
Every day, baby.
Every other day, I'm going to get some wings, man. If your ranch dressing is homemade in the house, guess what? It's home.
Homemade ranch dressing's the best. You know what happened to me yesterday? I got wings from the establishment across the street that's known for their amazing ranch dressing, Kev. And Diesel and I and another coworker Friday were talking about how the service sucks. But the food's I love the food. It's Wingstop. We all know Wingstop has great wings. I love the fries. The service is not good. Yesterday, took it home. Guess what? No ranch. I almost didn't eat.
I wouldn't have. I was like, listen, y'all owe me free all the ranch dressing I want for the rest of the year. How does that work?
It's bad.
And I'm telling you, if you get the Cajun corn, it's over with. You slide the Cajun corn down through the ranch dressing, you got something.
You know what's weird, though? Didn't you remember when Hidden Valley Ranch used to be good when we were all young, and then you grow up and all these restaurants have homemade ranch, and now Hidden Valley tastes terrible. It's awful.
Hidden Valley is terrible, man.
Terrible.
Like, that is we're not eating that no more. That's like that's like buying the sausages, bro. Like, I'm not eating that no more. Like, I seen a can the other day at work, and I was 3 seconds from me like one big fat boy day, like I used to have back in the day, eating Viennas and Pepsi. Like, that's not working no more. We can't eat that.
Good point.
Kevin,
like,
who wins the 5 o'clock fight? Did you hear the rounds?
I didn't hear what the TGL was about, but
yeah,
them Clemson will get upset in the first round.
Ooh.
Calling a shot.
And he's going over on
like,
chicken wings. So he's giving it to Cole.
Yeah.
All right.
Like chicken wings every day. Clemson first round going to the house because they hype, man. They hype and they on a run right now. I hope. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see Clemson go make some noise, but don't get too happy and don't get too big headed because if you do, you're going home first round. quick.
Kev, thanks for the call, man, as always.
Appreciate you, pal.
Good stuff. I don't know. Let's see on the text line, texters, we need your votes. 844-326-3663. Let's see. Anything on the stream yet? Nothing on the stream. Diesel gets the suite from the 770. Texter says, only way I'm doing that is if I bought too much and split up the wings to make it last that long. I've done that for Publix wings. Says Corn Chip. What do you mean? Eat them back-to-back days? Is that what he
Corn
means?
Chip, we want to see you. By the way, Corn Chip, where were you last week when we were at Ingles down in Powdersville?
Is that his Ingles week?
He normally comes and sees us. I think Corn Chip has come to see. I know Corn Chip lives in the Easley area, so he has come to see us at that one.
We're at Poinsett Highway next week.
Yeah, we're going to be a little farther away.
First time. It's in the heart of Greenville.
Love it.
And I asked for it. I really did, Tolos. For those of you in Greenville, Cherrydale area. What else is over there? TR.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, heck, it's
just outside of downtown.
15 minutes from here.
Love it.
The first time we've been at the freaking Poinsett Highway Ingles. It's a great Ingles. So Tolo's 1 week from today. Actually, we need to see you there.
Dewey says Diesel wins round 1. Golf sucks. Cancel the show. Says Diesel wins round 2. Says Diesel. He says Clemson is one and done. And he says, Cole wins round 3. I eat wings every day. That comes from Dewey.
People really do, though, man. I think, wings are probably maybe pizza's first. I don't know. I would love to see, I guess the fast food places would make it hard on me to be right here, but I would think wings are eaten a ton. Top 5 most consumed foods on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be.
How much does a wing have to cost for you to say, nah, I'm going to order something else off the menu?
What are they now?
$1.50?
I mean,
used to be able to get a dozen wings for $6.
Back in the day, wings were nothing.
You can get them for a quarter.
People threw them away back in. I mean, really, they used to.
God,
and now,
a fortune.
Now they're some places $1.52. I don't know if they got above $2, it'd make it tough because I think I go 10 wings, right? 10 wings cost
$20 for 10 wings? No, sir.
No, I think the last couple times it's been 15, 16, 17 maybe. I know it's they're high. Chicken wings are high.
Texter says the talent has fallen off at Hooters these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? I will say this. Me and a buddy of mine went there last year before a high school basketball game right here. I think it was at J.L. Mann. Isn't that where the one is, right near J.L. Mann, right off of Lawrence Road? Food was delicious. I love the food. I thought it was really good a year ago.
Well, it's not a difficult menu. They just got to execute the menu well. The problem is
cooks are better than the talent.
Yeah, maybe we need to put them in the orange shorts. How about that?
So that's where we've gone wrong at Hooters. And you also saw there's a lot of chains filing for bankruptcy right now.
Yeah,
you
it's
saw
expensive.
Red Lobster?
Yeah.
Red Lobster hired this guy. I saw this. I don't know if you've seen this on the internet or not. Red Lobster hired this guy to come in and fix the franchise. Have you seen this? This guy, he fixed, there was one franchise that he fixed, and I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but this guy was hired basically to come in and fix the franchise of Red Lobster. And you know what was the reason they were in bankruptcy? Was the all-you-can-eat shrimp on, I think they did it during the fall.
It's just too expensive.
Yeah, I mean.
Cost them a lot of money.
They lost millions of dollars, supposedly, on these shrimp. It was Damola is the guy's name, Adikuan. I probably butchered that, but he's now the CEO of Red Lobster. Oh, he fixed P.F. Chang's.
Oh, okay.
So P.F. Chang's, same thing.
Love P.F. Chang's.
I've never been.
Love for them to be a sponsor.
Hate me. Don't hate
right
me.
Over
Never
there.
been. Never.
There's
Where?
one 100 yards away. Right over there. Shops at Green Ridge.
God, I've never been.
It's great.
Never. But anyways, he took them out of bankruptcy and brought them back profitable, and is doing the same thing at Red Lobster. Are you a Red Lobster fan?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't grow up near one.
Though.
The Cheddar Bay biscuits are unrivaled. God. You can't touch them. Come on, man.
Oh my word.
Cheddar Bay biscuits are unbeatable.
Woo! Those things are dangerous, right? I think I could eat a basket of them. But
I used to call a girlfriend of mine.
Yeah.
Cheddar Bay biscuits.
Was she big?
No.
Oh.
I just liked her Cheddar Bay biscuits.
God, you terrible. Diesel, we yesterday or the day before we talked about the Cinderellas potentially in the NCAA tournament. As we inch a step closer and closer, I ask you, Diesel, I ask the Tolos, when it comes to certain players and certain coaches that'll be participating in March Madness. You don't have the Coach K's anymore. You don't have Roy Williams. But who are those, the players and the coaches, that you just don't bet against? Diesel said a couple of weeks ago before the Super Bowl he doesn't bet against Mahomes. Who is that for you in college basketball? I want to hear from you next. John Dog, we're trying, man. We're trying to get up there to the Ingles and Landrum, John Dog. We've had several Tolos ask us within the last couple of weeks if we could come to the Ingles and Landrum. So we'll suggest it, John Dog. Really, we'll suggest it and see. I suggested the Poinsett Highway, which is in the heart of Greenville. It was a no-brainer. And we'll suggest the Landrum one as well. It's funny text, though. I'm not going to read that on the air, but that is funny. We appreciate the love. And appreciate you listening to the show. He's Diesel, I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate. You know, the Blue Bloods have lost some coaches over the last few years. Diesel in college basketball, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, Coach K's not in the game anymore. Roy Williams isn't in the game anymore. The Virginia coach, I mean, who saw that coming? Syracuse coach.
Larinaga's
gone now, and Florida State.
Leonard Hamilton's gone.
Coaches left and right.
That might be the best thing for the ACC, considering its worst down year in a while, Cole, for a vast majority, like almost half of the conference to be changing over coaching staffs in a year.
Tony Bennett says peace out. So I don't know if you can still look at these teams and programs and say, oh, I don't bet against them. But that's where I want to go in this segment. Tolos, your participation is welcome and wanted. Phone lines are open, 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. Diesel, it's funny. I would normally answer this question of who you don't bet against in March by saying Dawn Staley, and that's where we'll start. I still think there's a lot of truth to that statement. I think it still holds weight. However, we've seen South Carolina is not elite this season. They're very good. They're not elite, though. They've gotten got several times. Is Dawn Staley still in the category, even though her team's not elite, of, hey, don't bet against her in March?
Well, I think she has to be. Losing a couple regular season games, I mean, while it is slightly concerning if you're a South Carolina Gamecock fan, it's a completely different ballgame from playing in a tournament atmosphere. So I think you have to
still consider her in that category of. I'm with you. I do too. I think. Look, her legacy is not tarnished at all by a couple of regular season losses. Now, the UConn loss a couple of weeks ago, it was ugly. There's no doubt. But I would still put Dawn in that category of don't bet against her in March, because experience from a coach like that who's been to the mountaintop, won a championship, Diesel, that goes a long way.
Well, somebody that you can bet against is Kim Mulkey, because, God, she is volatile.
Yeah, shots fired at Kim today.
Yeah, she is volatile, man. All you got to do is get her off her game. You got to get her upset, and she's out. She's in another world for the rest of the game.
Kim Mulkey, you can't bet against her attire, right? I mean, is that fair? So I want to hear from you, Tolos, as well. Who do you just consider one of those that you can't bet against? I have a list of the teams and coaches this year, Diesel, in this college basketball season who have been the best at covering the spread and winning the games outright. Maybe seeing who the teams really are that you can't bet against. But first, let's go to the phone lines that are wide open right now at 844-326-3663. JD wants to weigh in. What's up, JD?
Hey, gentlemen, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate you guys. First of all, the whole Dawn Staley thing, man. The women's basketball, it seems like it's wide open this year. I mean, we just saw Notre Dame get upset by NC State the other day. We saw UConn smoke South Carolina. It seems like any one of these women's teams could possibly win the national championship when it comes down to it. Do you guys not agree there?
They could. My money, though, JD, is on UCLA. They're as good as any team. Now, Texas is good. Notre Dame, you mentioned Notre Dame, UConn, Southern Cal, they're all good. But when I saw UCLA play South Carolina, man, I said, whoa, that team right there looked like South Carolina last year, you know?
Right, yeah, UCLA probably looks like the most dominant team. But then in the tournament, though, they might lose in the Elite Eight or something, and it might leave it wide open for any one of those other four teams. But, hey, so I'm on a 3-game win streak. When I call you guys before I am going to the Furman game, and I wanted to drop you guys a little joke. I know that there was I forget the dude's name now, but he said, what's going on in the SEC. They're 500 since they've started conference play. And, hey, guess what? The SoCon, they're 500 against each other in conference play, as is the ACC and everybody else. So I wanted.
How does that work, JD? Can you explain?
You guys.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, of course, all of these teams, once you get to conference play,
they're
going to be 500 against each other. I mean, one team's going to win, one team's going to lose. So the record each night when you play conference is going to be 1-1 or 4-4 or whatever the case may be. I really wish I could remember the ESPN guy that called. He called.
It was Carl Ravitch.
Was he being serious though?
It was Carl Ravitch, and I'd be willing to bet, JD, that number one, he just. I think he probably looked at a stat sheet real quick and grabbed something that said, "Oh, they're 500 in conference play."
I think it's funny.
He didn't take the time to process of
why
literally every conference is 500 against itself in conference play, because every game there is a winner and there is a loser.
Right. Yeah. He even came back. I think he said he got on a flight and then he saw Twitter was blowing up, and he even said that what he said didn't come out correctly. But what I think I understood what he was saying for the most part. But yeah. All of these conferences right now, they're 500 against one another. We've got a big matchup, Furman Citadel coming up, Wofford, Western Carolina. Furman and Wofford are actually tied right now, and then they play next week. So
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday. So
in the Berg, baby.
Yeah, these games that are coming up tonight, they're going to be huge for the SoCon. But give the SoCon 2 bids, y'all, for the love of Christ.
It'll never happen, yeah. I wish it would.
It'll never happen, but they need it. They need it for sure. Yeah. And, guys, appreciate you. Y'all be blessed, not stressed, and we'll be at the well here in a little bit.
Thanks, JD. No, there are a number of years, Cole, where the SoCon shows itself to be strong enough to deserve a second
This year's
team.
One of them.
Yeah, they got some really good basketball going on in the SoCon this year. The problem is the committee – I don't know how to convince the committee that they deserve it, right? I don't know how you go from a 1-bid to a 2-bid league, because it seems dang near impossible to do that. Let's just say UNCG doesn't win the conference tournament. They're sitting at 11-1 in the conference. Behind them in second place, you got a tie between Wofford and Chattanooga, both sitting at 8-4. So let's say UNCG doesn't get the SoCon's automatic bid. The committee's not going to put UNCG in. They don't have the brand recognition. They don't have the name. They don't have the, oh my God, we can't not put these stars of the game.
But you know what?
In there.
You know what the SoCon can do? You know what the SoCon can control? Every year when they get their champion in, go win a game. Go win a game.
Yeah.
Go show them.
Sorry about that. I was looking at the wrong. See, I just pulled a Carl Ravitch. I Googled SoCon basketball standings. For whatever reason, it automatically defaulted and showed me women's standings.
Oh, I thought
and
to myself,
I very
Wofford
quickly
would
looked
move
at
up a
that,
second?
and so that was incorrect. See, that's just proof, and I didn't
Carl.
intend to do this, but I'm accidentally backing up Carl Ravitch a little bit. Chattanooga 13-3, UNCG 12-4. Let's just say those two go to the conference championship game.
Yeah.
And UNCG, the second best team in the conference, beats Chattanooga. They're not going to put Chattanooga in.
No, they're not.
As an at-large.
How about this, though? I believe
they would rather put in a garbage tier North Carolina over Chattanooga. I promise you.
I believe prior to last night, most people that follow college basketball would say, Florida's one of those teams this year that you really can't bet against. I mean, they're 24-4. They've played some really good caliber of teams, obviously, in the SEC, and they've had some really impressive wins as well. And then last night, Georgia defeats Florida 88-83. Georgia gets their 5th SEC win, and that theory's debunked, right? But how about this? The best teams in college basketball this year when it comes to covering the spread, against the spread. There is one team that is better than any team in the world in college basketball in the nation, the country, at covering the spread, Diesel, and this team is 21-5 against the spread. So what that means is, for those of you that don't gamble, if you are betting a team against the spread, let's say Clemson is favored by 5 tonight. If Clemson wins by 6 or more, they covered the spread, right? Same thing if they were an underdog. If they covered the spread and only lost by less than 5, it would still be covering the spread. Diesel, I believe, for whatever reason, I don't know why yesterday this name of this school was brought up on the show, but this team, who's the best in college basketball, is the best at covering against the spread. They're 21-5, an 80% cover rate. It is UC San Diego. Do you remember the pitchfork and their mascot was?
The Tritons.
That's right.
Tritons.
21-5.
So the triangles.
So if when your bracket comes out and you decide, hey, I'm gonna pick a Cinderella, or I'm gonna pick a team to bet on, if that's what you like doing and enjoy gambling, this team, UC San Diego, the Tritons, they have a better cover rate than anybody in the country. Better than anybody. In all of basketball. And there are like a million basketball teams. Not really, but it seems like it. Florida A&M, Diesel, is the second best team against the spread covering this season, 19-6. Florida A&M mascot, by the way.
Florida A&M. Are they the Rattlers?
Rattlers, good job.
By the way, not only is Triton a great mascot for UC San Diego, but they also make great boat motors too.
The third best team. I don't know if any Tolos have heard or know what the mascot or where this team is. Robert Morris. That is not a gentleman's name. That is a name of a basketball program. Diesel, do you have any idea, number one, where Robert Morris is located without looking, and secondly, what their mascot is?
I think, because I know they pop up almost every year in this thing, I think Robert Morris are like the Blue Jays or something like that.
They are the Colonials. Robert
are
Morris
they in?
Colonials.
Are they in like Oklahoma?
Nope, they are in.
Who am I thinking of?
Moon Township, Pennsylvania.
There's maybe I'm thinking of Oral Roberts.
Oral Roberts always pops up in it. They are always popping up in the NCAA tournament, it feels like.
Oral Roberts, by the way, I was still way off, the Golden Eagles, and they are in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I was thinking of Oral Roberts in Oklahoma. You said Robert Morris.
That's right. You were close. Florida, by the way, that I mentioned, even with their loss last night, they're still the 6th best team at covering against the spread this college basketball season. They have a 20-8 record against the spread, a 71.4% against the spread. And I was wanting, just before we run to a break here, I was wanting to see where the Clemson Tigers were. You know, a lot of Clemson fans in the upstate, Diesel. Clemson is way down the list when it comes to covering the spread this year. I mentioned it earlier. They're favored tonight by, what did I say, 14.5? Is that?
I believe so.
14 and a half points. Clemson is probably, without counting, I would say in the 30s or 40s when it comes to covering the spread. So it's going to be a lot of fun, man. I think there's so many little variables, so many little things that, people pick up on and try to, find trends when it comes to March Madness. March Madness just around the corner. And we'll see if those trends of covering the spread reign true when it comes to March, when everything's on the table, Diesel.
Cole, when we come back, it is time for you and I to whip around the sports world. Our Daily Wires, The Buzz, happening next on the Fan Upstate. So many daily wires to get to today, Cole. We're just going to have to fire this thing out of a slingshot. It's our daily wires. The buzz happening around the sports world. Former Penn State pass rusher Abdul Carter is making a case that a defensive player, specifically himself, should be the first player selected in the NFL draft, saying, quote, defensive players impact the game just as much as the quarterbacks. All the teams that have won Super Bowls, they have that one standout player. I feel like I'm that. Carter is currently number 1 on ESPN draft analyst Mel Kiper's most recent mock draft and is the number 2 prospect in ESPN's consensus rankings. Remember, just a few weeks ago, he was listed 8th to the Carolina Panthers. Talk about shooting up the board.
He has.
The LA Lakers last night defeated the Dallas Mavericks 107-99. Luka Doncic became only the 3rd player in NBA history to record a triple-double against every NBA franchise. He tallied 19 points, 15 rebounds, and 12 assists in the game. So you have to think that the Dallas Mavericks were the only team he hadn't done it against because he was a Dallas Maverick.
That's tough.
Last night in the NCAA action, number 2 Duke had no problems with Miami. Final score 97-60. The number 14 Missouri had no problems with South Carolina. Final score 101-71. But the Florida Gators not quite so fortunate. They took a big fat L to the Georgia Bulldogs, 88-83.
It happens, though. It's the SEC. It's like we've talked about so many times. The quality of opponents are good. South Carolina has played several opponents really tough all season long. It's just one of those things you're gonna stumble along the way somewhere.
Tonight in NCAA action, you've got Notre Dame at number 13 Clemson, 7 o'clock tip. Ole Miss at number 1 Auburn, also 7 o'clock tip. The only ranked matchup tonight at 6:30, you've got Michigan State, number 8, at number 16, Maryland. In the SoCon, you got Wofford at Western Carolina and Citadel at Furman, which we will give way to coming up here in less than 1 hour. The University of South Carolina baseball team belted out 15 hits and scored 9 runs in its final 3 innings to defeat Gardner-Webb yesterday. Final score 14-4. That was run rule, by the way, 7-inning run rule. Carolina had 5 home runs on the night, 2 coming off of the bat of Jace Woida. Big night for him. Clemson said, not so fast, my friend. We can score more runs than you. They put up 20 in a big-time win, 20-7 win on Winthrop at home yesterday. They won the game also in 7 innings by the 10-run rule. They won their 5th game in a row to improve to 7-1. Bengals general manager Duke Tobin expressed a desire to re-sign T. Higgins to a long-term deal, but T posted a mysterious post on Twitter that was just the emoji of a blue baseball cap, which indicates that somebody is lying.
Cap, boy.
Cap means somebody's lying.
Cap, no cap. Salary cap. I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about there.
4-time Super Bowl champion Rob Gronkowski denied rumors that he was considering coming out of retirement for a second time, calling those reports crazy. The speculation arose after Gronk joked on a podcast about how busy he is during retirement and suggesting that returning to the NFL would be easier. God, people will just take anything and run with it and say, Gronk played football again. Next up, the University of New Orleans men's basketball team has sidelined 4 players since January and is reportedly under NCAA investigation for sports betting. James White, Josh Short, Day Hunter, and Jamon Vincent are linked to the investigation. The team has been playing shorthanded with only 7 players most nights. Before their absence, the University of New Orleans was 4-17, but now they are 4-25 after losing 8 consecutive games. We just talked about Fresno State having a couple guys out because they were wrapped up in a gambling investigation. Now it's happening at the University of New Orleans as well. The Carolina Hurricanes have lost 2 in a row and now find themselves 14 points back and in second place in the Metropolitan Division. They will be playing at home tonight against the Buffalo Sabres. The Hurricanes are 21-6-1 at home. So there's a good chance, Cole, that they make up some ground in the Metro. The NFL Combine starts tomorrow with defensive linemen and linebackers On Friday, it will feature defensive backs and tight ends. On Saturday, quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs. And on Sunday, offensive linemen. Why don't you would think that they would break out the quarterbacks on their own day.
Yeah.
But I guess none of the top quarterbacks actually show up to this thing, so why would they make it its entire day? And per Fox Sports, Sunday's NASCAR Cup race at Atlanta had 4.586 million viewers, the most watched sports event of the entire weekend, peaking with 5.56 million viewers from 6:30 to 6:45.
And you mentioned it, the NFL Combine starts tomorrow. That's where we'll go. In the very next segment, one of the best, Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL.com, has put out some really good info. A short segment next, but we'll have it for you right here on the Fan Upstate. Diesel, the NFL Combine starts tomorrow. Do people care? Is the first question that I want to ask on this Wednesday. I have forgotten what day it is like 4 times today. Is today Wednesday?
It is Wednesday, believe it or not.
Are you sure about that?
I've had to check 3 times by mousing over the little clock
I don't know
icon.
why
I've
Wednesday. Struggled today in a big time way on this Wednesday afternoon.
Well, it's because we've gotten lucky so many times, Cole, over the last 4 weeks that we've had company holidays that shorten us down to a 4-day show.
Yeah.
And now we got to wait a while. We got to wait all the way until what? Memorial Day, until we get a week shortened by holiday.
Don't tell me that. When is Memorial Day? May?
It's in the end of May. Yeah.
March, April. Oh, God. We don't have any holiday. Man, you're right about that.
It's Monday, May 26th, by the way.
Freaking basically June.
Yeah.
Way to make me depressed there.
But right after that, we have Juneteenth off, so we get another day coming our way. I know the Tolos are fascinated by hearing about our company holidays.
They should be. And I don't even know where we were going. Oh, that's where I was going. I wanted to know from you, Tolos, on this Wednesday evening, is it's 4 o'clock hour of the show. If you're just heading home from work, we appreciate you listening. Toloing, which is turning it on and leaving it on right here on the Fan Upstate, as we're joined by Furman Basketball in about 28 minutes from now. Furman Basketball pregame show that'll be underway. That'll be a lot of fun. So as you are making your way home, let us know on the NFL Combine. Do you have interest there? Is that something that you are interested in? I don't know, Diesel. I think that it's on TV. You and I are doing a show. We have TVs in the studio. If someone's at home, I don't know that they're going to go out of their way to watch it at home. But I think it's one of those things like if you're at a sports bar or a restaurant and it's on, you'll check it out. I just don't think there's a ton of weight, a ton of stock put into it anymore. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, why would anybody watch it? None of the best players are going to be there.
Well, yeah.
Right? They're not there to show out. They're not there to compete against one another. Yeah. Everybody's thinking about themselves. Oh, I could hurt my draft stock. Nobody's thinking about how they could improve their draft stock. I mean, I do wonder, Cole, as you see some guys, the prevailing thoughts are that Shedeur Sanders is dropping farther and farther down the list. Would Shedeur change his mind and go throw at the combine and say, you know what? I need to improve my spot. I don't want to be just the second quarterback taken. I want to be in the top 5 taken overall, and I'm going to do everything that I possibly can do to make teams who are maybe thinking about a quarterback say, I got to take a quarterback inside the top 5.
It is interesting.
I mean, what if the Titans – what if the Titans go Abdul Carter number 1? What if they pass on Cam Ward? What if another team that you know – is kind of waffling on whether or not they want a quarterback is there.
Well, I think the Titans are what make this thing so interesting because what the Titans do, Diesel, what the Titans do is kind of going to dictate what the other 5 behind them do.
They can blow this draft up.
It'd be great.
It's the first pick.
Unlike a year ago when there was a consensus that Caleb Williams was going number 1, it's murky. The water's muddy. We really don't know. We've been told that Cam Ward's going 1. We've been told that Abdul Carter Jr., Jr., the 3rd. I'm sorry for butchering that. He's not the first. Abdul Carter's going, right? Tennessee general manager Mike Bergonzi has 4 options, Diesel. From what Daniel Jeremiah of NFLnetwork.com or NFL.com has been told, he has Penn State edge Abdul Carter, Colorado cornerback wide receiver Travis Hunter. He also has Cam Ward. That's the 3rd option. You say, Cole, you said there's 4 options. Well, the 4th option, Diesel, he's talked about it. Mike Bergonzi has mentioned the 4th option, trading the pick, trading the number 1. He said the Titans are open to a swap per Ian Rappaport.
Think about this. The Titans could easily trade back to 3 and at the very worst take Shedeur Sanders. If they're dedicated to going quarterback, they could trade back to 3.
Yeah.
You'd get another first-round pick for it. Who's currently sitting at number 3? Off the top of my head, draft.
Shedeur, isn't he?
No, I mean, like, what team?
Oh, let's see. You're putting me on the spot there.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to think off the top of our heads who it would be. The New York Giants.
Giants.
So they could trade back to 3 with the Giants. That means the Giants could potentially now go nab Cam Ward.
I know.
And the Titans could still get Shedeur plus another player, another pick, another for next year, whatever it may be.
Weird, man. I just think there's so much like what ifs scenarios when you talk
because we know
about
the New
this
York
draft.
Giants are prone to making dumbass decisions when it comes to player personnel decisions. So the Giants may say
You just have, Diesel. You have to be ballsy to trade the number 1 pick.
You do.
I mean, you sucked really good. Don't say promo. You were really, really bad. You were really good at being really bad. You were good at being bad, and now you're going to trade the pick away? Are
Don't
you kidding
screw
me?
it up now.
Gosh, come on.
Tolos, it's been a blast. We're going to bring you that interview we had earlier in the show with Grayson Mann of TigerNet. Then we'll hand it off to Dan Scott on the call of Furman basketball. That's next.